Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
Where do you get this bureaucratic bull?
You have all the character references of a politician.
Intelligence has nothing to do with politics.
This president is not above the law.
If the dirty air don't get you, the politicians will.
The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away.
These orders have forced us to declare independence.
I hope that DOD will coordinate very closely with state so that we don't have the kind of situation we had when we withdrew from Vietnam.
I do not see that unfolding. I may be wrong. Who knows? You can't predict the future.
And with I don't know.
I think we're shadow banned tonight because Greg couldn't find the stream earlier unless he had a direct link. But anyway, welcome everyone, whoever everyone is, because there's barely anyone watching. Because I really do think we're shadow banned based on the keywords and the hashtags that I used when I set this channel up. So definitely share the link out on Twitter, on Discord, and anywhere else you can, because I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know we're live right now. So, and they should know, because this is going to be fucking awesome, everyone. We have some good topics tonight. We'll get into those in a minute. But first, I want to welcome my guest, my longtime collaborator, the Grand High Priest, Holy Order of the Jab is his current name, and it is Greg. Welcome, Greg. Oh, the east is this way, right?
Good evening, brother.
Yeah. It's just sad that we even have to have that religion, just pretty sad.
Well, it's a religion, it's a cult. It's this weird way of life now for people that they want to live their whole rest of their lives under this sort of constant fear and anxiety. The whole point of establishing the Holy Order of the Jab was so, if we defined it as a religion, then it would become toxic to the left, and it just quite hasn't taken on.
Right, but it will.
They're happy to accept this current religion, at least for now.
I definitely think it will, catch on, because people want to have a sense of belonging, and that's what it is in the Holy Order of the Jab. But let's say hi to who is here. Moses in the house, saying, "Hey." Trey Courtney's in the house. What's going on? Thanks, Trey, man. It doesn't matter when you go live or where you go live. Trey's going to be there. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Teresa's here with her customary rose. We've got Liquid Blake. Blame Lyndon for streaming until 4 a.m. Just woke up. So that would be our time. That would be 12, 11 o'clock in the morning. He used to go a lot later than that. He used to go until sometimes 1 o'clock our time, which would be 5, a little bit past 5 in the morning. So, yeah. I was watching him for a little bit, talking about Lord of the Rings, an absolute dog shit Screen Rant article, the 10 most problematic things with Lord of the Rings. Pretty hilarious, actually. E. Clay Thomason is in the house. Thanks for being here. Timon's here, members on open airlock policy, of course, but not here. And Moza as well. So, yeah, definitely share the link out as much as you can, guys. I just put it in the Fandom Collective Patreon chat and Twitter to try and help us out. But usually we get 10 to 15 people in the political chat. So, and Matt Wilkins, thanks for subbing to the channel, buddy. Appreciate that. I'm glad you know about the channel, man.
Awesome.
I watched your Buck Rogers review of the board game, and I just wanted to talk about Buck Rogers. So we need to have a Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, and some other cheesy shit stream sometime. That old cheesy sci-fi stuff's amazing to me. So, what are you going to say, Greg?
No, nothing.
Okay. Yeah, people are starting to filter in. And what's odd, look at all the people in the chat, but you look at the eye,
That
and
says
it only
3 people
shows
watching.
two people watching. So they're definitely... And
yeah,
then
something's a little wonky.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Oh, you don't know much about Buck. Well, that's half the fun, man. That's half the fun. But yeah, we're going to talk about several different topics. I don't know where we want to start. Actually, I do know where we want to start really quick.
Okay.
Something's going on, and I just want to plug this. So,
oh
yeah, our good friend Lady Toriel, top tier member on my channel and a lot of others, is having some health issues. So our other friend, OG Star Wars, is helping her out by setting up this GoFundMe. She super chats and joins channels and just a really sweet lady. So definitely help her out as much as you can. She's having some health issues. All the facts are here. So let me throw this in the chat here. There we go. So definitely check that out, everyone, because she needs help and she helps us so much. I mean, that's all I can say. And a lot of people are out there helping. So please do if you can. Don't feel any pressure, but do it if you can. Just think about, who are you super chatting and can you do it here instead? I guess that's what I'm asking you, just for 1 week, guys. So that's it. Please do that. I think where we should start, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. No pun intended. Let's talk about Afghanistan.
Ooh, you want to go right to that one? All right.
Yeah, we do, because the rest of it's just kind of fluff anyway, to be quite honest.
This is the big one. This is the biggest issue at the moment.
Yeah, and you saw the thumbnail. Biden is the Chinook escaping from good sense, from good tactics, and just respectability. I mean, this is just
responsibility,
and respect, for that matter. It's disgusting. I mean, just no foresight, no consideration of what could happen. Let's just pull the trigger, no pun intended, and get the hell out of there. Leave Americans there, leave equipment there. Not just Americans. Let's get out of this nationalist BS. Our allies are there too, right? Anyone from the West. Let's just take off and leave it all there, just because this is the date and we got to stick to the date. That's the most government thing I've ever heard in my life. And
yeah, except for it's like the one thing that's ever been on time with the government, right? I mean, we couldn't get a website on time.
Yeah.
Obamacare and all that other shit.
Exactly.
It is. So when you talk about Afghanistan, you got to compartmentalize just a little bit. So you have the issue of should we stay or should we go in the first place, and then if you say we should go, and he won the election, and honestly Trump was on that same, I think no matter which way you voted, unless you wasted your vote on a third party, the exit was going to happen. So that kind of a moot point doesn't matter so much. The issue is okay, now that we've committed that we are going to go, how are we going to commit to that exit over this period of time? And what, based on the information and the status of things on the ground from the experts that are supposed to know this shit, right? Now, granted, things are fluid. You can't predict 100% certainty what's going to happen in the future and how factions are going to behave, because people are people. But to be so flat-footed and surprised by how fast the Afghan government collapsed and got replaced with the Taliban, not excusable. And, one of the reasons, I've seen some people online, they're like, well, hey, these people should have left. Why were they still there on the last day? Well, because they were reassured that
right,
what was going to happen couldn't happen. and that's the phrasing they used. It was like it was either like couldn't or was highly unlikely or completely unforeseeable, but then foreseeable. Like they're all over the place. That's the most frustrating thing about it for me. And
Absolutely, yeah.
of course, I don't like losing, and I personally didn't fight in the war. I know people who did, but I didn't personally go over there. I'm not going to be a candidate to go over there. But that doesn't mean that I can't have a policy opinion on it either, just because I'm not part of the servicemen.
Wait a minute, haven't you ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
Of course I have.
You're telling me you couldn't be Gomer? Come on, man.
It would take a few more weeks in boot camp to shed the weight, and my eyesight, and the fact my age, not exactly the prime candidate for somebody to go over there, unless they need some fat guy to roll through a minefield to find where the mines are. But that would be about the usefulness of my serviceability.
Well, here's the thing. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, like it's just we have all these people. We have the State Department. We have the intelligence agencies. We have the armed forces and their independent intelligence agencies. All that are supposed to be assessing the situation on the ground, and not one of them got it right, is what we're led to believe, or their advice was ignored. And in either case is completely, totally unacceptable.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm angry about it. Like, ugh.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite because I like to try to apply economics to everything, at least economic concepts, right? And 20 years in, almost exactly, I think it was November of 2001 when we first started moving stuff over there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's when it took place.
It was fairly early where we established some sort of like operating base, but like major offensive, I don't remember when because it
might have been spring when major offensives began, but point is 20 years
took a bit,
more or less, right? So let's talk about the concept of a sunk cost. 20 years in, we've pumped all this money into it, right? Is it a sunk cost at that point and it's just time to leave? Or is it one of those situations where, like, gosh, we got to get this into a situation, into conditions where it's acceptable to leave, to where it's stable, right? So my question is, should we really have left? Or should we have left like we did? Not the way we did, but should we have left right now and said, hey, we pumped almost $1 trillion into it, right? It's time to go. I don't know, because it's not just all the lives that were lost and stuff like that. It's literally, don't consider what came before. Consider what's happening in the future, right? Look what has happened right now in the present. These guys, these Taliban fighters have taken over. They've stormed the Capitol and all that stuff, right? So it's not so much how much have we pumped into
an
it.
Actual insurrection.
Right, exactly. Let's pull out. It's more of, what if we pull out, what's going to happen? Well, now we know, right?
All actions have consequences.
So. Yeah, and they have fighter jets that they can sell because we know they can't fly them. Parts and all kinds of stuff that they could do with that. I'm not so much worried about the small arms because I'm sure they have access to that from various sources. But, my question to you is, should we have pulled out, even if it were tactically sound and maybe they didn't storm the Capitol within one day? What if it didn't happen for a year? Should we have pulled out? Are we still in Japan and Germany? I mean,
yeah,
go
Italy.
What's your answer?
Yeah, President Tuscan Bob would have kind of done, and it's going to seem like a cop-out answer, but would have done both.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would have done is I would have set up a secure perimeter around the major metropolitan cities, where the bulk of the cultural changes in the country had been taking place. Because, you have to remember, we went in 2001. It's now 2021. A person in college right now in Kabul has no idea what life under the Taliban was even like unless somebody told them. But they have no personal experience of living a different way from what they currently were living in a free society where you could go to school, get a job. You didn't have to necessarily fully burqa up and arrange marriages, all that stuff not present. Or if it was present, it was present by choice, right? So if you chose to wear a burqa because that's how you wanted to dress based on your religion, fine, you could. So what I would have done is I would have probably taken what the top two cities, Kabul and Kandahar.
Yeah.
Right. I would have taken those. I would have kept those two cities, kept troops there, kept bases of operation and airports there, and I would have told the goat fuckers in the rest of the country to go fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the Taliban were gaining strength, and that's where they moved in from, right?
Right.
So that's what President Gregg would have done. I would have left a small, I'm not even talking tens of thousands of troops. You didn't need that many.
No.
Because you still had, all you had to do was support the Afghan army. Right. And by being there, they wouldn't have all dropped their guns and run because they would have had our support. So I personally feel that we could have maintained operations there, and operate bases there and be like a contingency, a safety valve for the major metropolitan areas with relatively small troop contingents that were not engaged in, door-to-door urban combat or anything like that, because you just set up a perimeter and you checkpoints outside the city. You go through the checkpoint. That's where it is, and that's what I would have done.
And really, man, I need to start writing these points down because I want to make a few here. But the thing about people that are 20 years old, right, never experiencing the Taliban, did you hear about who was falling from the plane? Did you hear it was a child?
Yep.
There you go. They're scared to death of what was to come because, as you said, they've never experienced it.
They've heard about it though, so they.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And they're I don't want this life. Get me the hell out of here.
Exactly. So my point is, they haven't grown up to it and grown up with it and become. They haven't become accustomed to it. They haven't acclimated to it, right? So it scares them to death, and that's what happened. The video was really hard to watch. The close up of the wheel well.
Yeah,
that was really hard to watch. But it tells you what you need to know about what they did.
They were that desperate to get out of there. They were willing to make that risk. That says a lot. And I will say, if you're going to be a country that engages in nation building in places that have never had a history of a democratic government, you have to understand, and this is something that the American people have to understand in the future, right? Is if you're going to engage in such behavior, you have to know that you're there for multiple generations, because that's how long it takes for it to take root. Because you kind of have to age out all the old fuckers who were living under the old ways and raise the new people under the new ways, and then it becomes part of their new culture.
Correct.
But you can't do one generation and then bail and expect it to stick.
Yeah.
Because that generation has no economic power as of yet. They're 20 years old. They barely have families, if they have families. I mean, they're just starting out in life. They have no political power at that point.
And again, I look at Japan and Germany, right? I mean, what if we had done that? What if we had pulled out in, let's say, 55 or something like that? We probably would have had World War III come early. Because in my opinion, the Cold War was World War III. Because think of all the proxy wars that were fought. But that's a completely different topic. You know what I mean? Like, you don't root everything out in Germany. Not just Germany, but other countries in Europe, right? Austria and
we can look at
and
history
Poland,
with Germany.
even France and Luxembourg, and everywhere you had people.
We
of
know
that.
what would have happened with Germany, though.
Italy,
because we have the experience, World War I to World War II.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, correct. Yeah,
there's a pattern there, and that was the whole reason for the whole Marshall Plan and all that stuff was like to not have that repeat. I think it was a catastrophic error to basically go halvesies with the damn commies, but.
It 100% was. 100% was.
A lot of people died as a result of that decision. But
not just died, but a lot of people lost their liberty.
Yeah, suffered.
Yeah,
and just flat out starved or died
mm-hmm.
under that regime because we didn't have the political willpower to then turn around and take it back away from Russia. So
yeah. People were just war weary, and they wanted to call it good.
Well, and at the time in Europe, we hadn't won the war over in the East yet.
Correct. Yeah.
So I mean, Nazi Germany fell before Japan. So then, as a country, we're like, we can't take on Russia. We got to take care of Japan yet. So. I mean, there was a lot going on. Like, I can understand the decisions that were made and why they were made. And it's easy in hindsight to go, well, that was probably not the greatest thing, but
yeah,
that's kind of the way it goes. But like, we have a better understanding. We have more capability now. Like, I think that this is just a massive unforced error in judgment, a catastrophic error in execution.
Oh, big time. It was a tactical error. And again, we're talking about the strategic part right now. Should we have pulled out? But if we pulled out, how should it have been done? That's the tactical part. And it was an abject failure. Let's see what the chat's saying here. Small time. My understanding is that he didn't listen to his advisors on how to withdraw. Well, look at that clip at the beginning of the show. Some of his advisors are complete idiots. Political tools.
Oh, there's a lot of
someone had to have told him this isn't a good idea, whoever that someone is.
I think a lot of people probably did. And I think over the course of the next few months we're going to see a lot of people getting thrown under the bus.
Oh, fall guys.
Because like obviously some heads have to roll on this. Like the intelligence information, if it was inaccurate, then some heads should roll. Like, how could you have not foreseen this? You were there. You should have been able to have some inkling, not be caught so flat-footed and be so catastrophically wrong. But then, if they did, and then it was ignored, then the person who ignored that information, that head should roll.
Yeah. Timon says the general was too busy learning about white rage, and I was talking to someone about this.
Millie?
Today I was talking to my barber about this. Got a nice fresh fly cut, by the way. Yeah, we were talking about
looking hot.
Yeah, we were talking about this stuff. Oh, let me find the clip. No, I can't find it. So we were talking about this, right? And here's the thing, like, not only is this CRT stuff, this cultural Marxism creeping into corporations and into education, it's in the military now. I asked my son about this, and he told me it's there, and he just kind of ignored it. And most people do because they know it's nonsense. But, you get that occasional true believer. And then if you don't get a true believer, you get someone who, the Kool-Aid drinkers, those people at work or whatever, or in school that have to be the teacher's pet and just repeat everything, and all that. So it's taken a foothold in the military too.
And it's going to take years for it to manifest into something really terrible. So, like right
Correct.
now, the majority of the people are like, "Fuck this stuff. I'm going to do what I need to do for my military career." The problem is over time, if the same people that are in charge now pushing this stuff are making the promotion decisions, then it's those ass kissers that work their way up the ranks, and that's where the poison sets in.
And then they start promoting people that are not qualified to be making, groundbreaking decisions and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
And this is the military. You know, it's not good when corporations have it. It's not good when higher learning institutions have it. But when the military has this problem, you're fucked. I mean, come on. We're talking about lives and the defense of our country here. So definitely not good. I hope we find a way. When I say we, I hope intellectuals on our side, quote unquote, find a way to combat this bullshit. And in 20 years, we'll be laughing about it. But I'm not very optimistic because they know that they can't just come to us and say, hey, collectivism is awesome. Let's do it. It didn't work in the Cold War. So what they're doing now is they're using this cultural Marxism, this boiled frog analogy, right? Slowly start doing stuff like that until it's overnight it happens. Because think about it, like when you look in corporations, and we're kind of going off topic here, but who cares? This is case in point as to what's going on with Afghanistan. We have military leaders making shit decisions. But here's what happens. Like you go to corporations, right? And you have a bunch of successful people that are making all the salaries. If you're in sales, they're getting all the big sales, all that. And they all happen to be the same race and sex. That's problematic. We got to fix it. So what you're doing there is, regardless of how those people got there, that same sex and that same race of people, however they succeeded. So now you're going to intervene, right? And you're going to try to change that to create equal outcomes. What do you think that is? What do you think taking merit away is? It's your first step into collectivism. So slowly we'll do that. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we got to find a way to fight this without making it worse. And I don't know how to do that. It's something I sit and think about a lot, more than I should, but I do. Blake says yeah, go ahead. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fundamental problem is that the success of capitalism opens the door for communism.
Yeah.
If you talk to and you look on Twitter as a good example, the people that are pushing, communism and Marxism and things like that, and their idea of what the world would look like under that regime is not based on any semblance of reality.
Mm-hmm.
They think that their life is not going to, like, the bills are going to go away and everything else is going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that they'll be able to sit at home and make artsy YouTube videos all day long and have their needs taken care of. Mm-hmm. And what they're not factoring in is that everybody else is going to have that same idea and nobody's going to want to make the widgets.
Yep.
Nobody's going to want to work in the meat plant.
Yeah.
Because they just love cutting meat up. Like it's their personal passion in life is to do that job. You might find like 5 people out of 100 million that are going to be like, that's what I want to do with my life. That's all I want to do is I want to go to work and slaughter cows. That's my dream job. That's what I want to do for my life. No, they all think that they're going to have poetry careers.
And what happens?
And sit around and do nothing. And then suddenly nobody's making the burgers anymore.
And what happens when the government controls the means of production and they need people to make the production happen? You get slavery by any other name. And that's what happened in the Soviet Union. That's what happens in Cuba. That's what happens in China.
Always leads to authoritarianism.
Mm-hmm. Because you're
going to eventually have to force people to do jobs that they don't want to do.
Yep.
And then you're basically replacing a meritocracy with an aristocrat system, where basically it's the lords and the peasants again.
Yeah, and then you get the YouTube artsy fartsy people, but then you also get the people that think they're going to be one of the ones in power, living in the villa with with all the nice stuff. They think they're going to be one of the leaders, right? Well, guess what happens to them? They're one of the first people lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head. We're talking academia.
Yeah.
People like that.
The reason we can say this with confidence is because we have history to go by. We have history to go by. It's like everywhere it's been tried, this is where it leads. And it's pretty consistent.
Yep.
They'll try and tell you that it just has never been tried right yet. I mean, that's always, that's always the go-to. And just like it's always the go-to with every program that the government puts in place, right? It's just underfunded.
Oh,
it's never a bad program or a bad idea. It's just always underfunded.
You know what? This is a good time to announce the next time we do one of these streams, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now, because I'm going to do something different next Friday night. But we need to EFAP. I guess it's an EFAP. We need to go over that article that it's impossible for left-wing governments to be authoritarian. Remember that article I sent you?
Oh God!
We need to go over that and just decimate it. That article was long, and it was bullshit. But anyway, Liquid Blake, they diverted a huge amount of special forces resources from the Middle East to the southern U.S. borders and further south. That was a big part of the complacency. When did that happen?
That's not true.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Biden is a disgrace. Yes, he is. He's an embarrassment. Well, I guess to us too, but a lot really to the people that voted for him. He's a huge embarrassment. You see all this buyer's remorse shit out there on Twitter that's very real. And when you have something like that happen, it's almost like the Trump people. Very few, but some of them that didn't like the mean tweets and they had the buyer's remorse. But that was small, infinitesimal compared to this stuff I'm seeing in the last couple of days. People in real life are telling me this stuff. I can't believe I did this.
You have buyer's remorse on so many levels because and this happens, with every presidency to some degree, and it really happens with Congress because they always say like, "Ooh, Congress has got such a low approval rating." Mm-hmm. Well, here's the reason why Congress has a low approval rating. Get so many congressmen constantly get reelected. It's because everybody likes their own congressman. They hate everybody else's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason they do that is because they never feel they hate their own because they always feel that their own isn't doing enough.
Right.
So if you're a fan of Biden or Bernie or AOC, right? And you're looking at Biden, you're going, "Hey, where's the student debt forgiveness?
Yep.
Where's the amnesty? Where's all that? Where's this? Where's that?" So you're mad because you're not getting enough of what you want. And then on the flip side of it, because he tried to run as a centrist. He sold himself as a centrist. I think his policies definitely do not indicate that he is in fact a centrist.
Mm-mm.
But then you have the people that are kind of the centrists be like, no, I don't like that idea. I don't think we should be extending free rent to people anymore. Why can't they pay their rent? Or, hey, I don't think we should have shut down the Keystone Pipeline and then turn around and approve the Russian pipeline to Germany.
Right.
Seems like counterintuitive. You shut down a pipeline that benefits your own country for environmental reasons, but then approve one that gives your global adversary a leg up and muscle in European energy markets.
Yeah.
Seems kind of dumb.
Definitely.
So you always get it from both sides. But Biden with the Afghan thing, the really fascinating thing is how much the media has actually started to get a little honest. A little.
Yeah, I saw some excuse making on
interview
Monday.
Was awful in that he coached them
and
all
edited
that fucking
and
thing.
edited.
Yeah, the transcript of what Biden said versus what was aired, very different and very telling. Biden's not all there, and it's
again, guys,
very, very clear.
2 books I recommend. are both by Bernard Goldberg. Bias and arrogance. He worked for CBS, and he talks about that kind of stuff. It's not so much what they say in mainstream media, it's what they don't say, just like Stephanopoulos, what they didn't show, right? That's bias. When you actively help a candidate that you're interviewing by not showing them looking dumb, and they only do that for one ideology, for one party. E. Clay Thomason, why would anyone want to be our ally if this is how we respond? Here's what I'll say. I think people will still want to be our ally, like if you're NATO and you want a NATO, right? But if you're a developing nation, like Afghanistan or a small one, why would you trust us to come in and do something when something like this happens? And if that's how you want to define ally, that's fine. But I'm just talking about, why would you want to be rescued by us if this is what we're going to do? This is almost like something from one of those cheesy action war movies where they go into a country and they're like, I remember what you did to us 20 years ago and you abandoned us. I mean, this is exactly what they're talking about here. Like if I'm 20 years old in Afghanistan, 5 years from now I'm 25. Yeah, what do I think of the United States? Probably not very highly, right? Maybe when I was younger I did, because hey, look, I see the good that they're doing, and then we're just going to cut and run and then let these terrible I can't say too much, but these terrible shitheads just take over the country and start executing people and stoning them publicly.
7th century barbarians.
Oh, yeah, if even 7th century. Because don't forget, this ideology is new. It's not ancient. It wasn't formed until what, the 7th century. I think you're right. When caravans were being raided in the Middle East. That's how it started. That was not ancient. It was about, I think, around 650 AD, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around there. So not that long ago, guys. So that's I get the point that you're trying to make, but I still think that, European countries are going to be our ally because they're no better, to be quite honest, than us right now. But if I'm some developing country, no, I'm not going to trust the United States because, this is the guy that's going to just bail on us.
We're an attractive trade partner. I mean, if you really want to boil it down to simpleness, like it's in the EU's best interest to trade with the United States.
Yeah. Here's where I disagree. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Here's where I disagree with you, Blake. The problem is the opposing party to Biden doesn't have the balls to use this effectively. They will. I mean, look at all the votes in Congress so far. Look at the Senate votes so far. The GOP is spineless. Spineless limp dicks. That's what they are. They will not be able to use this. It'll be all forgotten 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when it's election season. And they will not be able to use this next year when the midterms come up. They're not going to be able to use this. Guaranteed. They have no balls. They might gain a little bit of ground, but
I think they'll retake the House. I think the Senate probably that quote unquote bipartisan
they won't take the Senate.
Bill just cost them the Senate though.
Yeah, they will not take the Senate
because you got a lot of Republicans, and myself included. I was very distraught over that vote. I'm like 17 Republicans voted for this piece of shit bill. There ain't $1 in it that I would have spent.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
And that's on top of the massive, bill that they passed earlier in the administration, that the Jobs Act or whatever.
Yeah,
it was on top of
Jobs
that.
Act.
And I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, like what a dumb unforced error. Like make him pass it on a party line vote and smack him over the head with it.
Yeah,
I don't understand that the political the just on a pure political level, not policy wise, but because it doesn't make sense policy-wise. It's a garbage bill. It was a garbage bill. But from a political standpoint, because here's the way this thing works, and this is the really frustrating bill. So there's two bills, right? So you have the infrastructure bill, and then you have this other monster omnibus plan, right? And so they negotiated the one bill, the infrastructure, on the condition that they'd allow basically a vote on the other one. And when you're at the bargaining table, and every concession that your opponent makes, they just stick in bill number 2. You're not getting any concessions. Like
you may as well have one bill too. I mean,
you may as well have one bill, because if the other one passes through a reconciliation process, and that's an if, because I don't know if Manchin votes for it, but they're going to certainly try and strong arm him into it. But I don't know. You have to understand that that's not a negotiation that's done in good faith. When they're just going to take the things that they're quote unquote giving up and taking off the table to cut the deal, they're just inserting back into another bill that's going to be passed right alongside it.
Yeah.
That's like, basically, that would be like going to a store and there's like 2 Hershey's bars and they got a sign going like, if you overpay for this one, we're going to give you exactly that amount off over on the other one. Yeah. So it's like, if you, normally they're 50 cents each, but if you pay 75 cents for this one, we'll give you the second one for 25 cents.
Big shell game. Yep.
Like and they're falling for it. It's like, Mitt Romney is a moron.
Oh, he's not just a moron. He's a spineless, directionless cuck. That's what he is.
God.
And people back in, when did he first run? 2008? In the primaries against McCain?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and all these people like, oh yeah, he's the one. I think National Review endorsed him and stuff. And look what he did in his state with the healthcare. Wasn't that a warning sign?
Yeah, that was a pretty good warning sign.
Yeah.
I was still like, I was okay with the ticket in 2012 because
I would have voted lesser of two evils.
That's where Paul Ryan, before he became just a cuck, he was putting out some actual meaningful like policy changes. Some actual reforms to the two. I mean, when you look at the federal budget, traditionally your top expenses are military, Social Security, Medicaid, or Medicare, Medicaid, right? Those are your big, overwhelming monster bills.
Entitlements,
in those things, and they're all the actuaries for these trusts have all been saying like, yeah, it's not in good shape. It's not in good shape. It needs some reform because it's not going to be solvent. It's not going to work in the future.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody's done anything about it. I thought for a second maybe we might actually talk some serious and be serious about that. But knowing now what I know about Mitt Romney, that was never going to happen anyway. And I would have rather Mitt Romney run and lost in 2008. Because, I mean, here's the deal. 2008 was almost unwinnable, right?
Yeah.
Like, with the collapse of the housing market going the way it did, heading into that election season, like, the Republicans were going to get shellacked, right? But
yeah, that was a given.
The Republican Party, thanks to the despicable work of Mike Huckabee, who stayed in the primary so as to secure it for the worst candidate the Republican Party has ever run on a national ticket. Piece of shit McCain. And McCain had no desire to win this election, by the way, because McCain was the type of person that hated being a leader because then he'd actually have to make decisions instead of complaining about everybody else's decisions. Because that's when McCain was happiest, was when somebody else was in power and then he could rush to MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and whine about it. That was the ideal day for John fucking McCain. Piece of shit.
Yeah. I agree. But your point is you wish
Huckabee not stayed in the fucking primaries to dilute the rest of the vote. McCain went to win the primary. Yes. Fucking bumpkin piece of shit. Romney might have had a chance to take that one, and I don't think the Republicans, because McCain put up no fight in that election at all.
No. And I've told this story before. He was somewhere in the Midwest, might have been somewhere in Oklahoma, right, doing a rally, and a black man, as it would happen, like, you know, they gave him the mic, and he's like, "Sir, like, I'm begging you, go on the offensive," because all this shit started coming out about Obama's preacher,
Jeremiah Wright, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so McCain walks down the aisle and like shakes his hand, and the crowd's like, "Yeah, guess what he did the next day? Nothing. Because he's a lazy piece of shit. He
ran the worst national campaign, and what that did is it sank the entire Republican ticket.
Yes, it did.
Because I'll tell you what would have happened. All we needed was to hang on to one motherfucking Senate seat, and Obamacare would have never passed.
Yeah.
The Republicans lost so bad in that election that they gave the Democrats 60 votes in the Senate. Filibuster-proof majority in the Senate if they'd all vote in unison.
Yep.
And the only reason that stopped was because the good Lord finally sent that bastard from Massachusetts to hell where he belongs.
Yeah. You're talking about Fat Kennedy.
Murderer Kennedy.
Yeah. We used to sing a Beer on the Wall song about him, and it was freaking hilarious, me and some friends. Anyway, but where you're going with this is you wish they had run Romney in 2008 so he would have lost and not been an attractive candidate for 2012, and someone actually competent that could have beaten Obama would have run in 2012. That's where you were getting at, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah, I had
Obamacare
the same
would have
thought
never
at the
passed.
time 10 years ago. So, I really
I'm
wish
so mad.
I could find my blogs from like 2006 to like 2009 that I had on MySpace, but the motherfuckers, last time I logged in, they deleted everyone's blogs, and I guess they sent a message out saying archive them. You have like 6 months. Well, I hadn't logged in like in many years.
Whoops.
I'm like, damn, those were good. They're on an old CPU that crashed. So up in the attic, maybe someday I'll be able to get it fixed. But small time, same thing with Iraq here. You know, same exact situation. Afghanistan is a series of 14 warring tribes. We were naive to think we could make it a functional democracy. Same thing in Iran. You had the Kurds, you had the Shia, right? You had the Sunnis. Then you kind of had some seculars and maybe a small Christian bloc in the city of Baghdad.
Very, very tiny. Yep.
Yes. So, you know, it would work here in the United States because we're different culturally. But over there, taking these disparate ideologies and beliefs and systems and trying to make them into one country with one flag, no. I could say so much here, but yeah, I get what you're saying here. Parrothead's in the house.
But the thing is like once you commit to kind of doing it, you kind of like, I can't say you can't ever change your mind, but like you do, you kind of gave those people your word, you know?
Yes.
And that's the disappointing aspect of this whole thing, and why I wouldn't have been in favor of pulling out entirely, regardless of who the president is because it feels like we're going back on our word to the people that were assisting us when it was not convenient to assist us.
Right.
And like I kind of feel like we owed them more than that. Like it's not just like a military loss or strategic loss or anything. It's like it's a loss of the moral high ground.
Yes, it is.
It's a loss of credibility. It's our word. It doesn't mean as much as it did a couple weeks ago. And that's not something you can easily reattain, especially with those people. Like the people that you directly kind of betrayed. Maybe betrayed is a too harsh of a word, but certainly let down. Like good luck getting, like if we have to go back into there for whatever reason, let's say Taliban goes back on their word and says, "Hey, Al Qaeda, come on in, set up a base right here. We made a spot for you."
Yeah. What if we have to go back in to destroy Al Qaeda? All right, who's going to cooperate?
Exactly. And so you might be able to do it with airstrikes and things like that, sure, but if you feel you ever need to go back on the ground, if I'm one of those people that got stuck there, I'm not exactly like rushing to give you a big hug. Like I wouldn't necessarily turn out to be like a terrorist. I wouldn't like join the other side because I find the other side repugnant and repulsive.
Yeah,
but because I'm a human being that doesn't live in the 7th century. With 7th century values. But I wouldn't exactly, I'd just kind of keep to myself. I'd just be like, well, they're back. All right. I'm just going to kind of keep to myself. I'm not going to get involved.
Yep. I agree.
I'm just going to be like, I'm hands out. Leave me out of it.
Melissa Lord's in the house. Thanks for finding the channel. And again, I tried to push this out. Tell as many people as you can about this channel because I don't want to talk about this stuff on open airlock policy. I just don't. So definitely tell people about grounds of expediency. Thanks for being here. Yeah, and this is like from 20 minutes ago, or more than 20 minutes ago. Small time, but yeah, DIE is what I call it. Diversity, inclusion, and equity. You know what?
Yeah.
Do you watch The Office, right? Or you watched it?
Oh yeah.
So if you have Peacock, they've edited together all the deleted scenes. It's called Superfan episodes. So you just watch it, and it's almost an hour-long episode, if you factor in commercials and stuff. And the diversity episode is brilliant. They showed so many things they didn't show in the original, and it's even funnier. It's even funnier. Like, so if you have Peacock, watch that episode. Skip the pilot. I mean, they showed a few funny extra jokes on the pilot, but diversity was the second episode ever, and it was amazing. They showed like maybe 20 minutes more footage, and I was laughing my ass off at that episode. Prophetic.
Just talking about The Office very briefly.
Yeah.
Kudos to the balls on the people at NBC.
Yep.
Who let that one go, let that one air. Because I guarantee, even back then, that was an episode that made them sweat. I guarantee it.
Yep.
They were probably very uncomfortable with airing that one, but good for them. Because that episode is one of the second episode. Like, how many series can you say, like, within the first 5 episodes is one of the best episodes of the series?
I'm Mr. Brown. First test. I'm not going to call you that. Well, you can call me that because it's my name. But they made Mr. Brown much more of a douchebag in the Superfan episode. And Michael, he was still a douchebag, but if you don't have Peacock, sign up for it just to watch those episodes. I'm like 3 or 4 in, and there's so much more. Some of it you can say, yeah, I see why they cut it out. But the placards on their head scene, oh man, it's so much better. It's more edgier. And I thought that was pretty edgy itself. The way that they did it. Like, I'm just going to do one. This isn't going to be an Office stream, but when and Pam's like, look, based on nothing in reality and all stereotypes and something I don't agree with, you might be a bad driver. Dwight, what? I'm a woman? And it said like a certain race on it. Oh man, that was so. I remember the first time I saw the show, like I was laughing my ass off. I'm checking something on. Damn you! I'm on Facebook and I'm on one of my pages. I try to join some like libertarian groups so I could post links, but none of them have let me in yet as the page because they're probably like, who the hell is this Star Relics and Reviews that wants to join like a political group or whatever? But I'm telling you guys what, like groups, that's the only thing worthwhile on Facebook because they're pretty much unmonitored and you can, that's how I do a lot of my marketing, quite honestly. Like the EU stuff really took off that way by joining like 40 or 50 of these fucking groups and just posting the links. And I get a lot, because YouTube shows you where links are, like where views are coming from, and a lot of them come from there. Okay, that's interesting. Melissa Lord says, unless the bitch ass bureaucrat generals want to win and take their natural resources, don't bother. Well, I'll tell you what, Afghanistan has stuff. It has rare earth minerals.
Rare earth minerals, which are going to be more valuable than oil in the future.
Yep. And I first heard of those things about a decade ago. When I was doing the job I'm doing now, but in a much lower position because certain items that we bought were made of those. And there was like a shortage of them because some mines in China had shut down. So they were trying to make up the shortages in South America, but it wasn't working out. And I think at the time, what were they? I think we were going from incandescent bulbs to fluorescent, and now it's all about LEDs. But the rare earth minerals were made to make the fluorescent bulbs and stuff. So we were having a hard time getting those because of the rare earth mineral shortages out of China. They shut down some mines because of a pandemic. It wasn't. What was it back then? The SARS, maybe?
It was SARS 2.
Yeah, SARS 2. So they had to shut down a bunch of mines because the workers got sick and stuff. So it's really interesting that you talk Ebola, you talk Zika, you talk SARS, you talk swine flu and all that stuff. Like, we were insulated from those, but the big C, it's a big thing in America. It's interesting that the others weren't.
Well, the big C is SARS C19. C is SARS. It's a variant of SARS.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different topic, Melissa. The war on terror is just like the war on drugs. I think it's winnable, but it's not winnable in any civilized manner based on what we consider civilized in 2021. Like if we fought wars like we did in the 1800s and even in World War I think it would be winnable, but we don't fight that way anymore. We have kid gloves on. Small Time says communism is a passion project type of ideology, not able to fund itself. Correct. I have a meme saved on my phone that's a surge protector plugged into itself. That's communism. It doesn't work. Prosperity creates monsters. Adversity creates men and women. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Brobafett's in the house. NorCal brother, what's going on? EFAP. Man, the chat jumped on me. Holy shit, we have a lot of people in here. Sorry, guys, we're way behind in the chat. Jock Nerdy's in the house, another NorCal brother. Afghans will never trust Americans again. Yeah, exactly. We covered that. Oh, Lady Toriel's in the house. They always someone ready to fall on their sword for the greater good. By the way, we plugged your GoFundMe, so just so you know, and we'll do that again later in the stream, and I hope you're doing okay. Thanks for all the support that you give me and many, many others, and I hope you have a speedy recovery and everything goes well for you. You're a peach. Thank you. Holy shit, we have a lot of comments here. Let's see. EFAP sounds so dirty. Yeah, it does. but it's very successful.
Well, that's part of the that's part of the fun.
Oh, Alora's in the house. What's up? Tuning in on drive home. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is something you could like listen to 2 weeks from now when you're driving around like a radio show. So I highly recommend listening to replays of live streams. I do that all the time when I have time at work and stuff, whether I'm here or I'm at the office on my headphones. I'll just listen to someone's live stream and keep it as background noise. Anchor of CNN Brazil got roasted on Twitter for complaining that the Afghans were not wearing. Oh shit!
I've seen that. I've seen a couple people were replying to tweets to the pictures of the plane.
Oh my gosh!
Be like, well, I hope they get shots when they land.
Okay, here's where I'm going to go, and please forgive me, anyone that's religious. Okay, because I don't mean to. No, really, I don't mean to disparage anyone. But this is what this is. When anyone is watching a footage of anything and they say they don't have a mask on, they're not distancing, they're not doing that. That's the same thing as an old lady in a skirt down to her ankles watching something on TV saying those girls, they're wearing bikini tops. I can't believe they're exposing that much skin. That's the exact same thing. These weirdos about the masks and distancing, they're cultists. I'm just going to come out and say it. That's what it is. When they have, when they can't look at the situation that you're describing here, the Afghans not wearing masks, when you look at that and understand the gravity, when you truly understand the gravity of the situation they're in, and you talk about masks, it means you're a cultist. And you're not a member of the Holy Order of the Jab. You're a member of a different one. So that's insane, Timon. Thanks for telling us. His administration would be removed. It will look very different from its next form. You're talking about, I don't even think the opposing party removes him. I don't see the point. I don't see him winning the support of his own party. Yeah, it's like I said, you see a lot of buyer's remorse this week, but again, memory is short. So as long as a certain party keeps dangling keys, keeps dangling the carrot of free stuff in front of people, in front of a certain voting block, that's the way they're going to vote. Sadly enough. Like, subscribe, share. I totally agree. Laura, please do those things. This channel, we need to get it to, at least a couple hundred subscribers for now, just so that when we do go live, people see the notifications and stuff like that. So even if you disagree with us, like, tell us in the chat, I don't agree with you, and here's what I think, and we can talk it out and tell you why you're wrong. Small Time, a National Review endorsement would make me wary of a candidate. It used to be a great magazine. Like, I loved it in the 90s, in the early 2000s, to be quite honest. I used to love as a kid, because I was a complete nerd, I used to love watching Firing Line with William Buckley. Used to love watching that. He was cool. Somehow he was cool. He did shit like with his sons, like Christopher. They would like just get into their yacht, just them, and like go across the ocean just all by themselves, just on a whim and stuff. That's just freaking cool. I don't care what you say. Yeah, and that's bullshit too, this whole self-hate. It's not a real thing. It's made up. It's made up by liberal racists.
Pretty
That's
much
what it is. Talking about The Office. We're almost caught up here. Oh, yeah. On Streamlabs, $5 American, obviously, from Melissa Lord. Hey, Tim and Greg with a heart. Hey, we finally saw you, because we were like really deep into something, and then all these people showed up. So again, guys, like we're pretty sure that this stream is shadow banned because Greg couldn't find it, didn't get a notification for it. and all that stuff. So share it out as much as you can, and get as many people to subscribe as you can. So Afghanistan, that's what we've been talking about with a few tangents all night. It's a travesty. It's a disaster. It's an embarrassment. And here's what I'm going to say right now. We can't let them forget this. We can't let this become short memory. We need to remember this. We need to keep on talking about it. Make it one of those things like remember the Alamo, remember Afghanistan, remember Kabul.
Yeah.
Just keep on talking about it, guys. And don't let any, one more second. Don't let any weirdo try to come up with a whataboutism or a straw man argument against this. This was a Biden failure. It was a tactical failure. Someone could have made the decision that, okay, number one, we shouldn't pull out right now. We still have the ability to stay. Second, when we do pull out, let's do it in a sound, logical, and effective manner. And that's not what happened. This is a Biden administration failure and nothing else. Period. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm going to cancel that and say this, and it kind of dovetails a little bit what you said about the vaccines thing on the plane. Never forget that the people that claim to be empathetic, right? They're the ones that care about people.
Yes.
Not our side. We're selfish and greedy and we hate people. Their side is the side that cares so much about the people. Watch the Biden interview. Like, it's being made fun of, but like how absolutely cold-hearted he was about how many days ago that those people were falling from the airplane to their death. That was 4 or 5 days ago, man. Like it doesn't matter anymore. And the people that are worried about whether these people are going to get vaccinated or have masks on, what is a key component of empathy, right? Being able to kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and evaluate what they could be going through emotionally and what they have to process, right? It's a key component of empathy, and if you're not a psychopath, you're capable of it. But these people, they're psychopaths. Because imagine, you have grown up, you're 20 years old, maybe you're 24 years old, you were 4 years old when the U.S. came. You have basically no memory. Your entire life, you've lived in Kabul, you've helped the Americans, your parents were translators, you became a translator, whatever. Suddenly, your entire country, your entire way of life, gone in a day or 2 days or whatever. Completely gone. And now you are packed like sardines, scared out of your gourd, going to where you don't even know where you're going to land. You don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know how you're going to live, how you're going to start your life. If you don't speak the language, you are in a terrible position. You are back to square one with nothing, going to a foreign land. You with fucking nothing to your name because you rushed to get the fuck out of there. The last thing you're worried about is a fucking cough that's imminently survivable. How could you possibly be even concerned about that if you're in their shoes?
Whew. Yeah, these people are
like disgusting. They're disgusting human beings.
They have no other virtue. They have no other virtue in their lives, and they're making this it.
Right. Like, not poor these people. They've lost everything they've ever had. Oh, I hope they were wearing a mask and get the shot when they land.
Oh, it makes me so mad.
I hope they're able to survive and restart their lives. That's what I'm hoping they're able to do. I'm also hoping that they're not one of the bad guys that snuck through. That's a possibility. doubt it. I mean, statistically, not probable, but possible.
Serenity now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it should fire you up when you see people say that shit, and when you have the president go, "Man, that's 4 or 5 days ago." Fuck you.
Here's the thing, though.
That you have some nerve, man.
Here's the thing. That what he said, and I'll get to Jock Nerdy's comment here in a minute because I have a point here, but what he said is proof positive of his mental fucktardation. Because who would say that? It's like someone like
even if you felt it, you would know not to say something that stupid.
It's someone that's trying to be cool and they don't know what to say to be cool. So that's what they say, like, "Oh man, I don't know what to say. It was 4 or 5 days ago." That guy's such a useless, and always has been.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not just his age. Go back and watch the old news footage of the Robert Bork hearings and the fucking Clarence Thomas hearings. The process by which people get nominated to the Supreme Court and how contentious that has become. Do you know what man started that?
I think Joe Biden.
Joe fucking Biden invented borking, which is something that they turned the man's last name into a verb for fucking his nomination over. And you watch his demeanor, especially when Clarence Thomas at the hearing gives his speech and he says it's a high-tech lynching. He gives his high-tech lynching speech, which is like, and if you're not familiar with it, if it's a little bit before your time or you weren't following politics at the time, try and find footage of it. I know if you're a Daily Wire member, they have a great documentary on Clarence Thomas, and it goes into that quite a bit. But you see, after he gives that speech, Biden's sitting there behind his mic, and he shoots Clarence Thomas the most wicked, evil, like, you motherfucker kind of look like that I've ever seen a human being give to another human. He's always been a fucking bully and a snake.
Yes, he has been.
Like, he has never been a man of moral character. The whole, like, aw shucks, it's old Joe thing started when he was VP.
He rode the train, right? He rode the train home every night.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You know, managed to amass millions of dollars from nothing. We won't even get to his fucking sons. But, like, well, you know, wow. What a winner that guy is. But, like, he's evil. He's an evil man. And, like, I'm not saying that lightly. Like, you look at his face during those hearings. Fucking that man, he's an evil man. He knew what he was doing was wrong. It was underhanded. It was unfair. But he did it anyway for political reasons. He's never been a good person. The Uncle Joe thing, that guy doesn't exist and he never has.
You know who else they called Uncle Joe?
Now he's a bitter, evil, demented man. Go ahead.
You know who else they called Uncle Joe?
McCarthy.
Stalin.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. They absolutely did. Yeah. Jock Nerdy, here's the thing. Democrats aren't capable because they've never been held accountable. Here's the problem. They keep getting voted in, the same motherfuckers. Look at a terrible, reprehensible person like Nancy Pelosi. How does she keep getting voted in? Because
how does anybody listen to her and not want to just like fucking glue her mouth shut?
Mm-hmm.
Like smacking her fucking dentures. Ugh.
Oh, disgusting.
Yeah, she's
so that's the accountability, you know, like don't vote them in, but they do because I can go into so much about the electorate right now.
Yeah, she's in a super safe district, so
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why
the poop on the sidewalk district. Yep.
Yeah, well, you know, not a very good district, but like it's a very safe one.
Yeah, and that's bad, Blake. When the journalist is surprised, when your ally and the press is surprised, that guy here's let's go back to The Office. Let's just make Office analogies all night. Do you remember the season where Will Ferrell came on for a few episodes?
Yeah.
And he's yelling at the cake and stuff. And then Jim and Dwight look at each other, like enemies, and they're like, they nod to each other like, yep, we've got to get rid of this guy. That's about what's to happen right now. Like, we've made a huge mistake, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I want to be, I want to cheerlead it on, but then I'm like, these are the same fuckers who were like asking him what his favorite ice cream flavor was and shit before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you guys, like, great, you're recanting now and you regret it now, but like you've put it in place. Like you allowed him to call a lid 5 minutes into every day of his campaign. The man didn't even campaign for the election that he got the most votes for in the history of the presidential election. The man barely campaigned, like ever.
Correct. Yeah, term
the
limits.
Laziest campaign ever.
Term limits would be awesome, but will they ever happen?
They'd have to be universal. Like you like the way it works now is a state could put term limit their own members, but it's not advantageous to term limit your own members of Congress, because as they gain friends and gain experience, they gain more.
It's good for your state, yeah.
Yeah, they gain more important roles on the important committees.
Yeah.
Like you don't just walk in there as a first-term senator and start chairing the Armed Services Committee.
Drew T, the fandom journalist, Supreme Heretic, is in the house. What's going on, buddy? Or just right now, we've been talking about Afghanistan for about an hour. So, and then, with some tangents, but that's kind of where, come on, just imagine being a fly on the wall in a top Democrat conversation right now, like about this guy in the White House. This is insane.
Like, if he had run with anybody else, I feel like he'd be gone already.
You mean because they'd
25th him?
Yeah, they'd have the balls.
They'd 25th him and put the VP in place, but they're looking at it going, I don't know if we want to do that. They're kind of just hoping to weekend at Bernie's him all the way to the next presidential election, convince him not to run, and then have somebody primary Kamala.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Kamala is not likable at all, and would probably perform.
Well, and she has a history too, so.
Well, yeah, she's she ran in the Democratic primaries and got 0 votes, so 0 delegates. I think the only reason he hasn't gotten the 25th Amendment treatment at this point,
he mic'd up,
probably because they're a little hesitant to put Kamala in the driver's seat.
Yeah. I didn't know that AEW ran a Friday night show. I stopped watching them a little over a year ago because, I don't know, it just got to be a little bit too much for me. It was okay, but I'll have to look into that. Yeah, you know what? And Boba Fett way back here was talking about a new computer that he bought. I can't fucking find the comment because I know we were talking about that a few weeks ago, maybe last week. I don't know where it went, but yeah, I love my new computer I bought myself for Christmas. Oh man, my laptop was a piece of shit. So this is so much better. Biden is a puppet. Yeah, he's almost a Manchurian candidate, He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's. Boba Fett commented later, I don't know if he's going to last to the end of the year. They might not have a choice. He might just be so gone that they have no choice.
Yeah,
they don't want to. They don't want to quite make it yet.
Animatronic Joe. Yeah.
But a retarded animatronic. Like,
Yeah. Not like Abraham Lincoln at Disneyland. Yeah.
And the guy's got a history of these like weird, cranky outbursts with the press too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you got Donald, Mr. Trump would be like, "Yeah, fake news," like, you know, just to kind of antagonize the press and stuff like that. But this guy, like, he gets angry with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Trump taunts him. Trump taunted the press. Like, Biden gets like bizarrely angry, and that's another kind of.
Well, it's a different relationship too.
It's a different relationship, so yeah. Anytime he gets a question that's even remotely hard, he probably considers it an immense betrayal. But it's also a symptom of somebody who's got that mental decline. You know, if you've ever had to deal with a person who's had a dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, they can get very frustrated, very angry.
Yeah. Oh, he was saying he was looking for a $150 GPU. Dude, everything is high now.
Yeah, the inflation, like a fucking last gen RTX card is going for like $1,400. It's like over 3 times the price it sold for new a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and the camera you're watching me on now in 720p, this camera would have cost about $90 in 2018. I bought it last summer for $200. And I was lucky I could find it in stock. This microphone, you know, not the greatest, right? Yeti Blue Yeti, whatever the fuck it's called. Yep. Found the last one maybe in 100-mile square radius or 100-mile radius for shit. It was expensive. Found it at Target, the very last one they had. So I kind of lucked out getting the equipment I have last summer.
Mine to get mine before, I think it was a little bit before Koof really took off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the run on them, then like you couldn't find a webcam or a mic for forever.
Well, the thing with like, you know, the Koof taking effect, it's more of they kind of ran out of safety stock and the production numbers finally caught up with them, right? That they weren't producing as many, and then the safety stock ran out, and then you started getting supply chain issues, and it all just backed up.
And then a massive increase in demand due to people working from home and doing conferencing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, you know, and the video card market, what happened there is very different. And people like on OnlyFans and shit like that, right? Trying to make some money. Oh,
I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. I couldn't find a 4K one, or this one does 1080, but I don't pay for the 1080 on StreamYard. So you guys don't get to see me in high definition.
Oh man, yeah, you could have my high quality average.
If we did, then Lethal would kick me out of the under 25. You guys have seen me on videos, and I look like more real in videos than I do on stream. But yeah, I don't look like I'm under 30 or whatever he calls it.
It requires a lot more upload oomph as well to upload at that
oh yeah, and I'm maxed out now at 15. So fuck you, internet provider. Democrats have played the long game over decades. They keep their ranks in line, or you're sacrificed. Now it's come into fruition. Yeah, they definitely they've had a political game plan, let's put it that way, for many years. And then you get the occasional outlier, you know, someone like what's his name out of Connecticut, the independent guy that went independent, Joe. Lieberman, yeah. You get someone like that, but that's like or the guy from Georgia that around 9/11 he almost switched parties, Mel.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, those are outliers though, because they're definitely.
Then you had your Jim Jeffers who jumped from R to D, and you get them especially in like the very purple states. Like my expectations when it comes to like purity tests when it comes to candidates. Sorry, Brobo. Like, I don't have, like, I'm a right with Susan Collins, right? Because she, like, Maine is a very purple state, leaning more blue, right? So it's like, okay, primary her and then lose the election, and then you have one less person in your caucus. Even though she doesn't vote the way I'd want her to, like, I get her signing on, like, being one of the 17 members that signed on to the infrastructure bill. Totally understand that. But then you got a senator from fucking Utah.
Yeah.
Like, that is not acceptable. I mean, primary is ass. Like, no. Like, that's a solid red state. There shouldn't be any purple candidate anywhere near that office, period. And that's where I get frustrated. You know, McCain, a lot of my frustration was like, Arizona at the time was a very red state. Immigration and stuff has definitely changed, and California migration has changed the demographics of that state over time. But, like, you gotta remember, McCain was in office for a very long time.
Yes.
He was a fixture in the Senate as almost as much as Joe Biden was. So, like, he frustrated me, and he played the game. Because, I mean, here's the game. So you get these like think tanks and everything, and they give you a letter grade for like how conservative you are or how liberal you are, right? Each side has their own think tanks and everything, and you know they rate you on gun control, and they're like, oh, this person's an F or a D on gun control.
Yeah.
This person's an A on gun control. The trick is like in politics, particularly in the Senate, like almost never is the vote up for grabs before they put it up for the vote. Like, they know where everybody's going to vote before the vote takes place. So they know how many people are going to vote yes, how many people are going to vote no. And so what you do is, if you know the bill isn't going to pass anyway, you can still vote safely for it because it ain't going to pass anyway. And you can get your credibility on your R card because you voted for a conservative bill or a conservative amendment to a bill that had no chance of passing. Or likewise, you can safely vote no on a bill that was going to pass by a wide margin anyway. So you can kind of keep yourself safe in your district.
Yep.
Let's say you come from like a purple state, like, oh, guys, like, you got this by like 10 votes. You don't need my vote, so like, I want to vote no on this one. Here's the reason I'll give. But I need to vote no on this one to maintain my credibility or campaign promise or whatever. So when you look at these groups that rate these things, only look at how they're rating them and what bills they're looking at, and only count in your own head what a bill that was plus or minus 5 votes difference from passing or failing. That gives you a better indicator of where the conservative versus not conservative or liberal versus not liberal line gets drawn, is on the votes where their vote actually could have made a difference in whether the thing passed or not.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the votes that matter, because they take token votes all the time just so they can say, look, I voted for the Save Babies with from Malnutrition Act. But the actual bill was to give money to drug dealers. But the bill's title was Save Babies. Yeah, but the bill was called Save Babies from Malnutrition. And then in the campaign, you can say like, hey, my opponent would have voted no against the Save Babies from Malnutrition Act.
Yeah, it's just like Antifa. Like, you can't be against Antifa because you're for fascism.
Are you for fascism? Like,
right. It's the same concept.
They play that game with the bill's titles all the time. Unless the bill is like weirdly named to make some lame acronym. Like, I love that too.
Yeah. Let's just come up with something to make a fun acronym, you know. Who cares what it even spells out and what it makes the bill mean.
Or does the name of the bill actually reflect what the bill does?
Yeah.
But see, it doesn't matter, because when you're cutting a 2-minute campaign ad or a 90-second campaign ad, or you're given a 3-part question by a piece of shit moderator from Fox News, whose dad was a good journalist, but he wouldn't know what a
Who
good
are you
journalist
talking about here?
is if it hit him upside the fucking head. Wallace?
Hold on.
Well, be very specific.
Who are you talking about, Greg? Who could you be talking about?
You're like, okay, I'm gonna give this candidate a yes or no question, and then I'm gonna give a 3-part or 2, and you got 90 seconds to articulate your position.
Mr. President.
Oh, that guy, man.
Yeah, here's your 90 seconds to communicate your position. Guys, when it comes to politics, like the debates can be fun because there's some gotcha moments and things like that. It's a sporting, look at it as a sporting event. It's not serious. It's not a debate. Any debate where you are required to articulate your nuanced position about a major issue in like 90-second bursts, that's not a debate. Debates should be...
See, and Greg is done because it's been 90 seconds and I've just used my power of muting. So how does that feel, Greg? You're unmuted.
Are you on your period? Megyn Kelly?
Oh, yeah. Oh, what another person to talk about sometime. Holy shit.
Oh, well, she's kind of flipped back the other way now, didn't she?
Oh, it's so convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like what's her name that went over to CNN, like Alison.
There's a few of them. There's Camarada, and there was gosh, I'm trying to think of the other one's name. The heavier one. I
don't remember.
Can't think of her name. But check this out. Small time, you are incorrect because I was 9 years old. No, I was 8 years old in 1984 when Mondale only won Minnesota and the District of Columbia, and it was all red, the United States, except for Montana and DC were blue. So
the last time California was a red state was 1984.
Well, he's talking about it wasn't a red state being Republican. It wasn't until those elections. That graphic's been around a lot longer than 96 is my point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot longer than that, buddy.
Yeah, D's always been blue.
Yeah. Which is weird because
Shepard's
because red, like communist,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know why the colors are what they are. Like, I mean, I know why the one side's animal mascot is a jackass, but like I couldn't tell you why the Republicans is an elephant.
Oh, I used to know. I've read the story a few times. I don't recall. Shepard Smith.
God, I hated that guy.
I
hated him on Fox News since Fox.
He's from Mississippi. Did you know that?
Yeah, what? Yeah, of course I knew that because he wouldn't never shut up about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking hand wringing over fucking Katrina. You big fucking baby.
Clay face is what I call him. It looks like his face is made out of
big whiny
putty or something.
Baby. Couldn't stand him.
Who is what, Tim? Who is what? What are you talking about? What you talking about, Clay? I saw something else interesting. Where the hell did they go? Flo is visiting Tim. Who?
On Flo. My Megyn Kelly joke.
Oh. Yeah, what a...
I thought that was funny as fuck. That won him the he's like, accused her because she was a cunt to him in that debate, like something terrible.
I used to like her.
It really caught him off guard, and he lashed back out at her. It was funny.
What is her current name?
It's Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, I used to like her when she was like Megan Kendall when she first started. She was kind of cool, right? And then she kind of started going, then they gave her own show. And then she kind of got on the high horse. And then she did that picture posing with Hillary and all her aides and stuff in the hallway. Oh, and I'm like, I'm fucking done.
I think she clerked
you flip-flopper.
She clerked for the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I believe.
Barf.
That tells you anything. She's nice to look at, though.
Used to be really nice, but now as time's gone by, I don't know.
I don't know, Megan. If you're listening out there and things don't work out with your husband, give me a call.
All right, let's put your number here. I have it on my phone.
555.
No, I got it right here. Hold on. Hold on. Where's it at? No, I'm not going to do that to you. I could.
Bleeding out of her, whatever. That was the line. That was so fucking funny. Like, that was just so, like, wow, having never seen that in a debate before. Yes. My
it's funny.
phone number became a famous song.
It's funny you should mention this because just on yesterday, I guess. Wednesday. It was on Wednesday. Someone texted me saying, "Do you have this guy's number that just left the company?" I did have the number, but I didn't want to give it to that person because I just felt it wasn't my place. So I replied with my area code and 867-5309, and they're like, "Okay, thanks." A few minutes later, that number doesn't work. It's like, dude, if you don't get that reference, I'm deleting your number from my phone and I'm never talking to you again.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Good grief. What a...
Just say it out loud.
867-5309. 867-5309. Yeah. Good stuff. And one of the main reasons I remember it so much, remember those like in the 80s, late 80s, like Solid Gold compilation hits you could buy.
Oh God, yeah.
Time Life Music or whatever.
And then you had more of them like now hear this or whatever.
Yeah. 867-5309. So we're kind of already on this anyway. We've kind of segued into it, but we're going to talk about our 6-month review of the Joseph Biden presidency. And the first thing I want to do is I want to ask you, without considering any of the highlights I'm going to bring up here, I want you to rate this presidency after 6 months on a scale of 1 to 10. And decimals are allowed.
But I have to start with 1?
0 to 10.
0 to 10. Then 0.0000000000000.
1.
1. It's weird. I mean, like, you ask a Republican to rate a Democrat, or a Democrat to rate a Republican, and it's like you're pretty much always going to get like that answer, like, well, what's the lowest score I can give? Of course, I don't agree with any of his policies. I dislike him personally. I think he's creepy. I think he's not fair.
We haven't even got into that. Yeah.
Just like his personality, I don't like. I don't trust him. I don't think he's a trustworthy person. But fundamentally, when it comes down to it, like, I'm less about personality of a president and more policy. I'm a policy guy.
Yeah.
And I would have to rate his policies. Pretty much, I can't name one that I've really liked.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm going through like the list in my head of executive orders, various other policy decisions. Of course, COOF. Obviously, Afghanistan, border, inflation, economy, like lowest marks possible kind of across the board there. Because like he hasn't done well with like anything of those major. Budget, obviously, not a fan of the spending. Although, I wasn't a fan of Trump's budgets either.
No.
I thought they were short-sighted and spent way too much money. And that was pre-COOF even. But I can't think of really anything that he's done that I would say that was like that it even makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because like right off the bat, like some of his day one executive orders.
I've got him pulled up here.
Keystone, bad move, just stupidly short-sighted move. And again, a great example of not being a good ally. because that's a deal between like the United States and Canada. So we kind of fucked Canada over on that one. And you might be kind of thinking to yourself, well, good, fuck Trudeau, but like, no, not good. There it is. His decision to change the stay in Mexico policy catastrophically bad, and a direct result of what's going on. What we're seeing at the border is a direct result of it. I mean, like, you could see the cause and effect like all over this place. His handling of the coup, his administration, like, he ran on a policy of like, the adults are going to be in charge. We're going to defer to the experts. Trump botched COVID because of his messaging and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And like it was worse. He inherited a presidency with a vaccine in place. Mm-hmm. And the rollout of that vaccine to the public was terrible. The mixed messaging, the stopping and going of the Johnson & Johnson shot destroyed people's confidence in the safety of the vaccines. Fair or unfair, that's just the reality of it. Because you can see the vaccination rates, and then once they did a halt on J&J's, like, it kind of fell off a cliff. Mm-hmm. As far as like the number of people getting the vaccination. The flip-flops of like, get the vaccine, then it's basically it's over for you. You can go back to your normal life. And then no, you can't. So now why get the vaccine? Because like nothing for you, nothing changes. All those mixed, terrible messages, just awful. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I was just going to say small time rates Biden's presidency 314. So in other words, he finally got a piece of the pie. Remember the Jefferson's intro?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, we're getting our ratings in here. No one really has a high rating. I doubt anyone in the chat probably voted that way, though. So, right. Not a big surprise.
Well, and then we have some members of the chat that weren't eligible to vote in the election.
What are you talking about? No one's ineligible, you bigot.
Oh, that's true. Timon, let me. Can you DM me your address? I'm going to send you a ballot for the California recall election that you can mail from Brazil.
Oh man!
I'm just going to print it out here at home. And I'll mail it to you.
So, just so it's clear, yeah, my rating is pretty close to yours because let's look at Obama, right? There's probably one or two things we could think of if we sat here and we thought hard that he did that we agreed with, maybe, right? Maybe one or two things. But this motherfucker in there now, I can think of nothing. I can think of nothing virtuous or anything value added or effective that he's done that I would say, yes, I would stand by that.
Yeah, no, and going back to Obama, I would say, like, I mean, he followed through, like it or not, with the TANF funds and things like that were kind of set up in place by the Bush administration at the tail end of his administration.
Right.
Dealing with the economy. I mean, he said some kind of cocky things. They're like, "Hey, elections have confidence. I'm going to do what I want because I have the votes in Congress." Well, I don't like it, but like it's kind of true.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm not going to read all this because look at all this shit, but let's highlight some. You already mentioned Keystone Pipeline. President Biden issues an executive order to revoke the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline and overturn various other Trump administration environmental policies. Here's the rich one. This one, it wasn't that screen that you just saw, but this one is really rich and hypocritical. President Biden proclaims a national day of unity. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. President Biden directs the Department of Education to extend the pause on federal student loans.
So he delayed payments on it due to coup. Okay.
Wait, he delayed payments on it, or did he delay the granting of loans?
I don't think he delayed the granting. I think he delayed.
I'm clicking on
further
source.
delayed payments.
I'm going to click on the source.
The loan payment requirements.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, it says payment freeze in the actual link. Let's see here. Find something else. President Biden issues a proclamation to repeal the travel ban from Muslim majority countries. Great idea, Joe. Let's see.
See, and that's such a dumb. That there's another optically very frustrating thing because it
correct.
That never was the proper description of what the ban was.
Hey, that's what I was about to say. Yes. It was a crock of shit.
We didn't ever ban people from fucking Saudi Arabia. There was a hell of a lot more countries that we didn't ban than we did, and it had to do with the specific country and what was going on in those specific countries, not the religious majority of said country. But that was
so
of Trump racist, right?
Yeah. In a way, quiet's correct. I can't believe you people. He's easily an 80 million out of 10. In a way, you're correct because that's not a possible figure. So it winds up being null and thus 0. So that's easily your rating for the Biden administration. 80 million out of 10 is null. Let's see. Let's move in. That's just on the first day. So I can't read all this. Let me find something else here.
What? No, and then he did stuff like he's just not only did he stop the Keystone, he stopped ongoing permitting on federal lands.
Yeah, I see that. Here's one. Where the fuck did it go? Hang on. Damn it, man. It was the one on Thursday, January 21st. Let's see. I can't find it, but it was there. Oh, here it is. It was actually on Friday, January 22nd. President Biden signs an executive order to restore collective bargaining power for federal workers. So great, because they're not useless enough already. Let's give them collective bargaining power.
Well, the thing is I don't think they lost their collective bargaining power entirely anyway. It was just further fully restored. That's basically, regardless of what you believe about unions, the idea of public sector unions, meaning government employees, bargaining with the government, is generally a bad idea because you have the federal government bargaining with not their money to people across the bargaining table that they're allied with.
Right.
It's generally a bad idea, and you end up with very costly, very wieldy a union force there that's not very effective and can't fire, discipline, remove, promote, all those other kind of restrictive things. Not to mention very generous benefits packages, all that kind of fun stuff as well.
Mike W. says Biden is a borderline genius, but he's not a stable genius. He's not stable at all. Mike Dub, so keep that in mind. Here's one right here. President Biden, this is again, first couple of days, signs an executive order to increase the minimum wage for federal employees to $15 an hour. Stupid. So stupid.
Well, especially at a time when in a lot of cases, they were already above that market. That's just that was symbolic.
It was symbolic, and it was. Oh, excuse me. It was symbolic, and it was something he was trying to do to spur the same action in the private sector. Obviously. I remember him making a speech that, if we can't make them do it without an act of Congress, then I can do this. So.
Right, but the idea of just policy-wise of raising the minimum wage during a massive economic contraction, because you got to put yourself back in January of this year. The vaccines were barely starting to roll out. Most things were still closed everywhere. Like, most states were still closed. There was, unemployment was massive. Like, if you were to apply that to the rest of the country, right? So you're a restaurant that can't seat anybody, and you're doing takeout orders only, and now you're going to raise your wages to $15 an hour.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know it's sarcasm, Mike. And then Trey, the thing. Let's see. Again, we can't read everything. Let me find a highlight here. That's a pretty big one, but who cares? Let's see. President Biden signs executive orders expanding the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, revoking an abortion policy by the Trump administration, and revoking the Mexico City policy. What the hell is the Mexico City policy? The Mexico City policy, sometimes referred to by its critics as the global gag rule, is a United States government policy that blocked U.S. federal funding for non-governmental organizations that provided abortion counseling or referrals. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, that's not a surprise. President Biden threatens sanctions on Myanmar in response to a coup. It's funny how there are certain countries that these progressives take up as causes. You have Myanmar, you have Sudan, right? Like, what's so big about them when you have oppression literally happening all over the world? What is it about those specific countries that become their pet projects? That's what I've always wondered. You know what I mean? Like, what is it about Myanmar and Sudan that makes them take them up as these causes?
Virtue signal.
Well, I know, but they could virtue signal about anything. Why them?
Because
why not Uyghurs in China?
They don't have to follow through, and it doesn't require any actual work.
There it is. You're a genius. Oh, Timon says his internet just came back. He'll be eligible to vote in some states, for what I'm reading.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I'll mail you a dozen ballots. Go for it.
February 2nd, the Senate confirms Pete Buttigieg as Secretary of Transportation. Oh, great. What a slime ball.
Yeah, there's somebody that's like, these secretary positions are so meaningless. I mean, that's one of those, like, if you really want to drain the swamp, man, like, they're just puppets and figureheads at the heads of these agencies. They don't really even do anything. But okay, like
here's one.
What did Pete Buttigieg have as far as qualifications to run transportation?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a quip here, but I can't come up with one. He gave someone roadhead. I don't know.
He's President got a lot of experience putting little trains into tunnels, dark tunnels.
There you go. I know. He has a locomotive. That's what it is.
Yeah.
President Biden signs an executive order. This is on February 4th to increase refugee admissions and allow safe haven for about 125,000 refugees.
The funny thing about that is like I was actually reading about that one, and like the United States is basically on pace. Pre Afghanistan was on pace to still stay at about 15 grand.
15 grand?
Yeah, 15,000 immigrants.
People, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see. That's boring.
Oh, God. Timon, I'm not mailing you anything.
Yeah. We're just kidding. Whoever's watching, we're just kidding. Please don't do anything to us. Let's see. President Biden announces He announces the sanctions on February 10th on the military leaders who directed the coup in Myanmar. Yay, sanctions. And as President Biden and his family returned to Washington from Camp David. Do you go to Camp David within your first month? Is that normal, or I
don't know. I've always been kind of baffled, like how much it changes from administration to administration.
Yeah.
Like okay, so like Obama went golfing all the time, but then but Trump got ripped for it.
Yeah.
But and to be fair, like. I think a number of conservatives ripped Obama for the amount of time, that he spent vacationing. I don't know, like you consider what a president makes as just far as his like base salary goes. Like, I don't know, and I guess the argument is they're never really on vacation. Of course, they have all the stuff there, and they can, hop on Air Force One and do what they need to do if emergency arises. So, I don't know.
Oh, here's an interesting one. On my birthday, February 20th, President Biden visits his friend and former Kansas Senator Bob Dole following Dole's recent stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. Interesting. I'm sure they were good friends. Let's see. No, that's boring.
Probably brought him an ice cream cone.
Yeah. President Biden, February 25th, approves a retaliatory military strike against Iranian-backed militia in Syria, which leaves 17 militants dead. I don't remember that.
The old drone diplomacy.
Yeah. That's the Obama way. This is a weird one.
It was the Clinton way too. Remember that?
Well,
he was always cruise missiling shit.
Well, especially when the Monica trial or hearings started up, suddenly we're bombing Iraq and
yeah, like it's funny how like Republicans get like the warmonger moniker, and it's like
I've been saying that for 15 years. Yep.
Like fucking Bosnia.
Mm-hmm.
Clinton. Like okay, Georgia, Iraq, Afghanistan, but then surge happened under Obama. The least warring president that we've had since Ronald Reagan's
Trump
Grenada exercise was Trump.
Yep. And he's always been anti-war. He was extremely anti-Bush. He was a Democrat voter,
Yeah.
So, this is a weird one. Biden travels to Houston, Texas. Okay, I'm not even going to click on that link. Let's see. We're going into March here. Let's see. I'm looking for keywords. Anything that sounds interesting. President Biden signs.
When did he lift the stay in Mexico policy?
The what?
The stay in Mexico policy.
What do you mean stay in?
So that was a Trump era policy where when you applied for a asylum, you were seeking asylum in the United States, but you came through Mexico, you had to stay in Mexico until your hearing. Because what happened prior was you come here, you say like I'm applying for asylum. You're like, okay, well, hang out here for a while, and here's your hearing date where we're going to review your asylum case. see if you qualify. Please show up. And what the Trump administration did was basically they kind of cut a deal with Mexico to say, like, look, if they're traveling all the way through Mexico, like their
February
immediate
2nd.
Their immediate asylum necessity is like, why can't they stay in Mexico? Why do they need to come all the way to the United States? Like, so if you're leaving Honduras, right? And you're like, why are you seeking asylum in the United States? Why aren't you seeking asylum in Mexico? Mexico's a lot closer. It's on the way. What's the deal? And so while you were waiting your hearing, you had to stay there. And it was a deterrent to risk coming all the way north to try and abuse our asylum system to gain entry into the United States. And with the removal of that policy and his rhetoric during the campaign, and as president, there's like the direct result of those things is why we got the massive surge at the border that we've gotten since he's been president. You look at, and it is like there's more kids in cages right now than there ever was under Trump.
Oh yeah. But where's AOC and her white?
They're not concentration camps because it's not Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where's AOC in her white dress staring at a fence? Where's those photos?
With her anime frown, you know.
Yeah.
That was so stupid.
Well, I mean, it's so obviously staged and phony, like, but you know.
Oh yeah,
a lot
just
of people
like
on their side are going to fall for it. Yeah.
That's kind of what it looked like. President Biden signs an executive order promoting voting rights. So I had to click on the story here. This is Washington Post because, you know, democracy dies in darkness. Is that still up there? Yeah, it still is. Okay. Mm-hmm. President Biden on Sunday signed an executive order aimed at promoting voting rights amid a push by Republican-led state legislatures to roll back voting access. Oh, bullshit. What the fuck did he... What he signed, what did it actually do? That's what I'm looking for.
I don't think it actually did anything. It may have like directed the Justice Department to look at like potentially suing or something like that.
Oh, fuck that guy.
That's generally what those kind of executive orders do. But that's another interesting thing, right? Is that the rolling back of voter things. Like, it's the rolling back of the relaxed standards that were put in place during pandemic era elections.
Mm-hmm.
And rolling them back to not even where they were before, but still expanded. But, you know, that's like every time he was in front of the microphone, it was Jim Crow, Jim Crow, Jim Crow, Jim Crow, Jim Crow. It's like, but like Georgia's election law, for example, is less restrictive than Delaware's, his home state.
Speaking of voting, these next two are freaking hilarious. But before I do that, I want to ask Blake, I want to ask Timon, and whoever else in your countries, how does voting work? I know that in Australia it's compulsory, but what kind of identification is required? I'm just curious how they do things there. But okay, here we go. March 17 or 17 March, as Biden would say, because remember, we celebrate 4th July. In an interview with ABC News, President Biden calls Russian President Vladimir Putin a killer and claimed he would pay the price for election interference. The next day, Russian President Vladimir Putin responds negatively to President Biden's claim that he is a violent killer. Shortly before this, Biden had commented suggesting that he has no interest in repairing relations with Russia. So,
yeah,
you know,
great
diplomat.
And then approved the Nord Stream pipeline.
Okay. Yeah. And great diplomat, too, you know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't even touch on this. Like, remember that European trip?
Yeah.
where like he embarrassed himself by like saying, "Oh, you forgot to introduce this guy that like Boris Johnson like just introduced."
Right.
And the fact that he looked like he was just kind of wandering around, and his wife had to keep like kind of reeling him back in, like he was just. It was an embarrassing outing. Like he was
just like every other outing.
Like, well, policy wise, it wasn't like nothing catastrophic that I can recall came of it, but like it was just optically. It showed the world kind of how weak he is as far as his faculties go.
Mm-hmm.
And don't think for a second that hasn't played into further events that happened from there.
Absolutely not.
Countries act in their own self-interest, and when they can get something from us, they will.
Oh, man. God bless Wikipedia editors. March 19th, President Biden stumbles 3 times while trying to climb the stairs in Air Force One. Can you imagine?
Put that in the timeline?
Yeah, can you imagine if that were Bush 43? Just imagine.
Oh, yeah. I remember the time where he threw up in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That was like late night jokes for like fucking a month.
Well, not just jokes, but these freaking weirdos that had a hard on for him would write like full columns on that type of shit. And him throwing up is why he's not fit. He's not fit. That's their word. You're unfit. You're telling me this motherfucker in there now is fit? I mean, come on. He can't even have a coherent conversation about anything. What a joke. President Biden travels to Columbus to celebrate the 11th anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. The 11th anniversary.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Oh,
it's a big fucking deal. Remember that's what he said.
And he on the 25th of March, he already declared he's going to run in 2024. Yay.
I don't think even the most ardent Joe Biden super fan like believes he's running in 2024.
Mm-mm. March 31st, he declares March 31st International Transgender Day of Visibility. Okay.
Thanks. Like I needed to see that shit.
Let's see. Let's go to quarter 2 here. Oh, infrastructure plan. Bah. Day of Remembrance for the victims of the Holocaust. President Biden reveals his plan to raise corporate taxes to 28%, which Democrat Senator Joe Manchin threatened to block. Huh.
Yeah,
I'll tell you guys what.
That's part of the bill too.
Whenever they cut corporate taxes, it was amazing. A lot of big companies just instantly, within 2 weeks, gave frontline workers like huge bonuses. What was that in 2017, 18, whatever it was?
Yeah, 2017 maybe. They lost the Senate in 2018. So
yeah, it must have been 17. Here's no, I think it was 18. I think it was 18.
Might have been 18 because the election wouldn't have been until November. So
yeah, there a lot of companies. Here's $2,000. You make 25, 30,000 a year, but here's a $2,000 bonus because when you cut corporate taxes, it's more than just the tax cut. It helps in so many ways.
And a lot of money got repatriated as well. So
yes. And do you want to explain to the audience what that means, like shelters and all that stuff?
Yeah, repatriated. So, like, if you have an international corporation, and you make money in another country, running one of your subsidiaries, let's say I have an operation in Australia, but I leave that money in Australia within that subsidiary, that is not subject to the United States income tax because I'm not bringing it back to the United States. And And the way the tax policy worked was it was counterproductive to repatriate that money back into the main country or back into the main corporate headquarters, which meant that money was then reinvested elsewhere in the world instead of back in the United States, because you couldn't bring that money that I made in Australia back home to expand my operations here if I needed to. I'd get punished for it tax-wise, so I would expand my operations in Australia. So instead of building a new plant in the United States, I'd build one in Australia. Even if I didn't necessarily need one in Australia and I wanted to do one in the United States, still tax-wise, it was more friendly to do that. Basically, you're paying the Australian tax because the Australian government is going to tax the shit out of you.
Right.
But then the United States government would as well. And so there was like this disincentive to bring money back home. So repatriating is basically bringing that money back to the prime corporate entity back in the United States, if that corporation was based out of the U.S.
Yeah, we have responses from Blake and Timon. So in Australia, they have an electoral roll. You need to mark off your name if you vote on the day, or I usually absentee vote earlier with the same. You need photo ID. Wow, Australia is a fascist country. Well, actually, in the last couple of weeks. Brazil, here it is compulsory, but you can get out of it without much trouble, maybe a small fine equivalent to $2 US. We have voter ID, very easy. So, I guess here in the United States, we're the only non-fascist country because we don't require voter ID of any kind in most states. Let's see. Here's one that pisses
when we
me
get
off.
to I just want the tax thing, because it's important to bring this up when it comes to the tax cuts. I'm just looking at a table here from thebalance.com. I don't know. I try and find another competing chart so I can kind of get an idea. Here. So basically, U.S. tax revenue by year. So in the United States, the Treasury, through all taxes, collected in 2015 $3.25 trillion.
Okay.
2016, 3.27.
Mm-hmm.
2017, 3.32. 2018, 3.33. 2019, 3.46.
There you go.
2020, 3.71.
Because
am I roboting?
You were a little bit, yeah. Because of when revenues increase, then so do the taxes.
You expand. So taxes are a cut of the pie, but if you make the pie bigger, you can cut a narrower slice and still get more.
Yeah.
Basically, to just think of it as a pie. And the point I wanted to make there is, despite the tax cuts, federal revenue actually never decreased.
Right.
The reason the deficit increased was because spending also substantially increased during those years.
Yep.
So that's just something and that's very important when it comes to tax policy that people know and understand and can refer back to. It's like you go well, look, it cost the government so much money. But revenue grew. And it grew at a pace that was basically the same or better than it was previously.
Yeah.
So that, again, very, very, very important when talking about tax policy.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, the benefits of it are not just, here's less money you have to pay in. It's a trickle-down effect. It has a lot of secondary and tertiary effects. It's amazing. I mean, we just gave people and they were happy, like frontline workers money and all that stuff. April 8th, in an executive order, President Biden instructs Department of Justice to draft a red flag law and propose rules on ghost guns and pistol stabilizing braces. So, yeah, he's a gun grabber. Red flag law is a violation of privacy and civil rights. I don't care what anyone says.
It's fundamentally the biggest violation, obviously besides Second Amendment, is due process.
Yep, that's it.
And due process, other than for me, it's like First Amendment, extremely important. Freedom of assemble, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right? Very, very important. Amendment 2, guns, right? Very, very important. Due process is like right up there, though, as like being one of the most important fundamental fairness and justice and liberty-oriented amendments of all of them. And red flag laws rob people of due justice because there's not a process for which, like, somebody could red flag you and you lose a fundamental Second Amendment right because you're assumed basically guilty before proved innocent. Until you prove yourself innocent, not crazy, or not a risk or a danger, in order to get your rights back. And in some cases, the red flag laws work where you don't even know if you've been red flagged. So you don't even have the ability to challenge your status because you're not even aware until you go and try and buy a gun.
Right. Check this one out. This guy's proven himself to be the most liberal left-wing president in history. Here's one from the 9th, the next day. And President Biden creates the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States, a nonpartisan, commission to study the question of reforming the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
Such as by increasing the number of justices.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep, your court packing.
Let's create 6 more seats and fill them in the next 2 years.
The commission has no actual power to do that. It would have to be an act of Congress, but still.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It would be just like here's how we can recommend it, and basically that's code for find a way to spin it so we can not call it court packing.
Yeah.
Because traditionally in the United States, Congress and the people have been really, really, really opposed to the concept of one party just suddenly massively increasing the size of the Supreme Court to essentially ram through or get by the protections of the Constitution. The idea being that you can appoint so many judges that you own the court. And and then they can just rubber stamp whatever you want. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, if the Supreme Court says, well, the Second Amendment doesn't count anymore, like, then what? You essentially have a constitutional crisis at that point. Because the Supreme Court can say it, but does that really make it so? And then who enforces it?
Yeah.
That's one of those things where, like, we've never had a situation quite yet where we've had the Supreme Court say something and then Congress just say, fuck off. We don't care what you say.
Fuck off.
Because the Supreme Court doesn't have, like, its own police force to enforce any of its decisions. So that's one of those things, like, weird what ifs in this country that they have. I mean, it's even questionable as to whether or not they even have a constitutional role to determine what's constitutional or not. Like, that was an argument in the early Supreme Courts. Is like, who's the final arbiter, and like why it, like, there was a strong argument to me, like the Supreme Court's not the final arbiter. The final arbiter should be Congress, the people.
Mm-hmm. Well, what they'll do is, if that were to ever happen, DOJ would send out a memo to law enforcement agencies at every level saying, this is what the Supreme Court ruled, and we recommend that you enforce this. That's what would happen. And 95% of them would. You'd get the occasional, usually a county sheriff here and there around the country that wouldn't. But city PDs, oh yeah, they do what they're told, because that's kind of the way that they think. The law is the law. So that's how it would happen. And you go back to 2009, as soon as Obama's in office, it was either HSA or DOJ sent out a memo like that there's a problem with right-wing extremists.
Oh, yeah.
And that's here's why that's dangerous. They didn't name a specific threat. They named this nebulous, non-specific threat that...
Oh, they're doing that shit right now, too.
Yeah, they are. They could enable law enforcement agencies to target anyone that fits the rough template of what one of these people look like or should look like, and that's bullshit. I had a bumper sticker made. There was this website that would make them. I don't think I ever put it on a car after this happened, and it said, "Pull me over, comma, I'm a right-wing extremist!" exclamation point. And extremist was like in italics. Never put it on my car though. I wish I had. But I had to go to work, so.
Right, yeah. Well, like, here's the fundamental issue with governments in general, and that's why the Second Amendment is kind of important, is that any judge can basically issue any ruling that he or she kind of wants to. There's not like there's no God saying like, no, you shall not do that, and like prevents them physically from issuing whatever order, however unconstitutional, that they so choose to give. And then or Congress passing a law that's just blatantly and outrageously unconstitutional. And as long as the people accept it, then it does become the law. If the people don't accept it and they rebel,
yes,
that's your constitutional crisis.
Yep. I'm ready for it. Here's one. 414. President Biden formally announces the full withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan by 9/11, ending the Americas. That doesn't even make sense. Longest war.
Yeah, and like, okay,
The date's the date.
That should have been a real red flag for kind of everybody, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you making the symbolic exit date the anniversary, the 20-year anniversary of the September 11th attacks?
Big time.
Like how tone deaf and like just awkward and weird is that?
Yeah.
Like, so we're gonna celebrate, or we're gonna commemorate, is the better word, commemorate the Trade Center buildings going down 20 years ago by leaving the country from which the attack was staged. I don't understand what the significance that he placed on like making sure that it was done by that particular date. Like, how very bizarre. That's like, there's just something fundamentally not right about that.
Right.
Like, why? Like, why is that? That's not a good symbolic date to choose. Just pick another random day, the following Tuesday or the previous Monday, or like just something other than that date. But like, you had to choose that specific date because of what it was. It's just that really should have been a bigger red flag that this guy is not pursuing solid policy.
Right. All right, here's one that we shouldn't even have to read it, but I'm going to ask you a question after I read this. President Biden holds a national address hours after Derek Chauvin is found guilty of the murder of George Floyd. Can you recall any other president in history, and this is an honest question, that held a press conference, had a national address on a specific court case, criminal court case, on an individual level? Can you ever remember that happening? I'm sitting here trying to think, and
I'm trying to think of famous criminals that or notorious criminals. Maybe that would be.
Well, assassination attempts, I can see that,
Yeah, but I don't I'm pretty sure Reagan didn't do one for Hinckley.
Right. Virtue signal.
No, I mean the only thing I can think of is presidential comments, but not addresses, but just comments in pressers about maybe a Supreme Court ruling. But an actual criminal prosecution, maybe one of the terrorists, the blind sheik or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, but that's arguably that's the war on terror,
Right, but that would be maybe the only one maybe Timothy McVeigh. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's terror again.
It's certainly bizarre.
And then right after that, he offered to fly the family out.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, to talk about police reform. Wow, whatever, dude. Let's see. We're burning through this because we got to move on to the next topic pretty quick here. Commencement speech. I'm sure those guardsmen were really happy about that.
Yeah.
They were probably properly indoctrinated by that point. Let's see. Commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre by telling America to confront its past and cruel acts toward African Americans in recent months. So yeah, whoever edited this last is
based.
Yes, there you go.
What date was that?
June 1st of this year, obviously.
There's something that. Oh, there was an issue because what he failed to do then was to make any kind of public statement or address for D-Day.
Oh, that's the 5th, right?
6th.
The 6th. Oops, I don't know my history. But he did arrive in Guatemala at the start of a Central America diplomatic tour. So yeah, he probably kissed the ass of the Sandinistas and all that shit,
It irked people because he was he commemorated Tulsa, which is again, not exactly you don't bury your history, and granted, I think a lot of people aren't familiar with the history of the Tulsa race riots, but it seems like another odd one to be hey, it's been 100 years.
Well, there's a way to bring stuff up, right? There's a way not to forget history and a way to bring it up and create division.
But Normandy is a substantial and significant turning point in World War II.
Right.
That involved the brave actions of tens of thousands of U.S. soldiers. That's kind of a big one to kind of not mention.
Quietly Quiet asks, has Wiki always listed all past and present state governors as Republican or Democratic?
Probably, although the Republican Party obviously didn't exist, back in 1776.
No, it didn't.
So what was Whigs and I forget the parties.
Oh shit! There were Federalists,
Federalists,
Democratic Republicans, which were kind of the precursor to Republicans. Where are you going with your question? I'm curious. Let us know. What's up, subhuman? What's going on?
It is bizarre to list them that way if the states go back far enough that predates the Republican Party.
Yeah. You'll if you go to Thomas Jefferson or whoever, it'll show whatever party they were in whenever they were the president. Let's see. Oh, here's the one. Oh gosh, I want this to get revoked so bad. President Biden signs the bill making Juneteenth the 11th federal holiday.
Never gonna happen. The repeal, I mean.
I can just tell you that we didn't recognize it at work. I can tell you that much.
It's weird to make it like a state holiday, essentially like a national holiday. It, I guess, has well, I mean, not I guess, I'm indifferent to it but as a general rule, I think that we have too many federal holidays as it is.
Yeah.
And so I would have said, I don't know. I think Juneteenth is probably fine, but then get rid of something else. I don't know which one I would get rid of, because of course you're going to piss off somebody if obviously you're not going to get rid of Memorial Day, 4th of July, or Christmas, or Thanksgiving. But I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. It was what annoys me about it more than anything is it's just basically it's more it's a virtue signal. Does the recognition of this actually change anybody's life in any meaningful way?
No, it's a virtue signal, is what it is.
No, but it had overwhelming support. It passed by a very, very, very wide margin.
Okay.
Unanimous in the Senate.
I still think it's stupid.
Oh yeah, it's stupid. But
Skirmitar is in the House.
Of all the things I want to repeal out of what the Biden administration done, this was pretty low on the list. I just don't care. I'm not going to celebrate it. I mean...
Nah. Neither am I. Skirmitar, we asked this question earlier. You were in Hungary. Tell us how the elections work there. Is it compulsory? Do you have to have some kind of ID in order to vote? We've already gotten responses from Australia and Brazil. Oh, I get what you're saying now. There are no Democrats or Democratic. So I think Rush Limbaugh started this. You don't say Democratic as a adjective. You say Democrat. It's the Democrat Party, not the Democratic Party. It's, the Democrat senator. And then certain publications started picking that up, right-wing news outlets and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I always say it that way just because it's second nature. It's the Democrat Party, yeah, because they're not Democratic. And then Trey loves our commentary on Juneteenth. But since Skirmitar is here, let's play a quick clip from Skirmitar. I think this is one.
Not bad, not bad. Now you...
I like the second one more.
Strongly disagree.
That's just me. I like the second one more. I think the chat does too.
Skirmitar replied, "Of course you need an ID. How would
yeah, well, let's tell you some stories, Skirmitar."
Well, and it's great. This is a great exercise because this is another thing that I think not enough people understand. People from other countries don't understand what the fuss is. Almost every single country on Earth has stricter immigration laws than the United States. Almost every single one. almost every country in the in the world that's democratic or democracy has stricter voting laws than the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try and do anything to restrict either one of those or regulate them, racist.
Yeah.
Racist.
Fascist, racist.
Yeah.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah, like just look at the border policies in like Europe. They're a lot stricter.
Well, but Timon, I'm doing it in Spanish, not Portuguese, and Spanish is also spoken in Brazil. Let's see. He said something else. Oh, you have to have one after 14. Wow. That's crazy. It's insane. Let's see. That's Juneteenth. We're nearing the end of this quarter here. President Biden orders airstrikes in Syria again. In Syria, which the military personnel launched in retaliation for drone attacks. Endless war. President Biden extends the executive order that declares the nuclear plan by North Korea a national emergency for a year. Nice. That's not important. Let's see. Okay, let's back up here and go to quarter 3.
Yay.
That's stupid. Just like last month, really. I don't know how they're measuring quarters here, but whatever. That's stupid. July 8th, President Biden announces that the official conclusion to the war in Afghanistan will be on August 31st. Or he means the official loss in the war in Afghanistan will be before August 31st. So congratulations, Mr. President. Let's see. That's boring. Let's see. Town hall. Holy shit. United States conducts a drone strike against al-Shabaab militants near the Somalia town of Galkayo, making it the first military action in the country that was carried out is what they mean by the Biden administration. I didn't hear about that one either. I honestly, like 10, 15 years ago, I was in the news every day. I was in the news. I was reading the news every day. I just don't have time anymore, so I tend to stick to the big stories. So stuff like that, had no idea. August 8th, which was only 13 days ago, he sends B-52 bombers to attack the Taliban in Afghanistan after the terrorist group captured 2 major cities in the country on Saturday. Oh, man.
Had no idea. This is completely unforeseeable.
Yeah. American Jobs Plan speech about 11 days ago.
Yeah. Fucking joke.
That's
what they're calling the second bill, by the way. So you got the Americans Jobs Plan, and then you got the infrastructure bill.
Oh, check this out. On the 11th, President Biden's plan to spend 2 weeks in Wilmington was uplifted by the Senate, and he spent the week at Camp David. Last night, yesterday, whatever, addresses the nation for a second time regarding the evacuations from Afghanistan. I haven't seen that one yet. Here's the Stephanopoulos thing from a few days ago. But yeah, this presidency has been a shite show. And not just for us, the critics, not just for the country, but his own supporters. probably especially because you go out and vote for someone and then you see all this shit. It's like, oh man, that guy is making us look bad. He's the hayseed rube of the bunch. And that you're the one that created that situation. You helped enable that. And you're embarrassed for yourself when that happens.
Yeah, but it has this weird political effect. So,
okay.
And the weird political effect is it's going to actually probably accelerate any plans legislatively or administratively on the domestic front, because they realize that his blunders are likely to cost him his party control of the House of Representatives. So now there's this weird feeling of we need to act now, because after next year we're not going to have the power to.
Yeah.
So and it's a weird cycle, because it's actually going to then accelerate, or likely to accelerate, their own decline in the polls, because like the more reactionary they get and the more they press, the less happy the public is going to be with it. So it's like this weird political calculation. And it's kind of similar to the political calculation they made with Obamacare. Like, I think they understood when they passed the thing that it was probably going to cost them a lot of seats. But they went and did it anyway, because they're like, we're not going to have a better chance than now. We got to do it. And that's where you're seeing a lot of the anger and the pushback on his far left flank, is to push to get some of this other stuff done, because they're going to lose their window to do it.
Yeah.
Because if the Republican Party controls the House, no bill goes up in the House without the House Majority Leader basically approving it to go to the floor for a vote.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, you could propose all the bills you want. They're just going to die in committee, or they're just never going to get brought up on the floor. I mean, the same thing happens in the Senate as well. But it presents this weird political environment that we're about to enter into.
Let's combine the last two things.
Well, I want to propose one thing that could be just immensely amusing.
Okay.
Politically. Imagine this. Okay. Because in the Constitution, there is not a requirement that the Speaker of the House actually be a member of the House of Representatives.
Interesting.
So, in theory, the party in control of the House could elect somebody to the House leadership position that is not a member of Congress. And you know where I'm going with this. You know exactly where I'm going with this. Think about how fucking funny it would be if the Republicans take the House in 2022 and elect Donald Trump as Speaker of the fucking House. Third in line for the presidency.
You can't do that. Imagine how that would go.
Constitutionally, you can.
And you almost want to do it just to piss them off,
Yeah, it would absolutely be like just a tremendous fuck you. But like, how funny would that fucking be? Like, that's like, of all the things that I want to see in politics, that would to me be hilarious. Be like, put him as Speaker of the House, and then have the House just keep drafting fucking impeachment articles against Biden Harris.
Oh shit. let's combine the last two, okay?
Sure.
This whole thing with, and they kind of go together. This whole thing with cheerleading for tyranny, cheerleading for lockdowns, for statism, and the state of California, like, because we see a lot of that happening in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's ask the question: what drives someone to go, hooray, Big Brother, hooray, government wants to be mean to me, government wants to not allow me to leave the house, government
snitch
doesn't
on your neighbor for having too many
snitch
people
on your
over.
neighbor, not allowed to go to work unless they say it's okay. All that shit, this cheerleading for it. I have my ideas about it, and I think I've shared them before, which I will again. But what is going on with that? Like in your head, why do people behave that way? Why do they not only allow it, but why do they encourage it and cheer it on?
There's a lot of reasons, I think. I think one of the top ones is that there people just want to be busybody, tattletale control freaks. I think there's a lot of defective people out there who get off on control and getting their way and being bossy. They just like to be little busybody, bossy bitches.
See, and that ties into my second Gina Carano video. Like, why would these corporations have a lot of these policies if it's detrimental to the institution? Well, it's because the people making the decisions don't care. They're just getting off on the power, right? Same concept.
Well, like through emergency powers, you can you create an emergency and then grant yourself powers, or use bills that were designed for much different types of emergencies.
This guy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, that was Lucas knew what he was doing there. So.
Well, and it's not something that's like unique in history either. Like, why did Rome go from a republic to an empire?
Mm-hmm.
Emergency powers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Gotta win the battle, win the war.
Yep.
Need the emperor. Then, well, lo and behold, the emperor just doesn't want to give control back, like, ever. Liquid Blake, is that actually, like, I saw that one, and, like, he's locked up in a place in Perth. Is that
I saw
actually,
some people talking about that.
Is that actually, like, confirmed true? Because I was just kind of wondering, because it seemed like it could maybe be just kind of a bullshit fake story as well. But I saw the video that the guy made. I was stunned. I mean, what a fucking bitch.
What does doff mean?
I don't know. I assume turned in by or tattled on.
Yeah, I never heard of that term before.
But like, yeah, Liquid Blake, if you got a link to like a reputable, like a news story link to that particular case or anything, Liquid Blake, I would be very curious to read that article. Maybe not necessarily on stream, but I'm like, I try and follow Australian politics and what's going on in Australia, particularly with COOF, very, very closely, because it's not that way here. But if you pay attention, if you look on Twitter and you dig into these threads where people are commenting, it is on a razor's edge to being implemented in here. And one thing I really absolutely want to say is thank fucking God for governors like DeSantis and Abbott. And I'm not usually into hero worship when it comes to politicians. Don't have a whole ton of respect for them in general. But here's the thing. If it weren't for states like Florida and Texas in the United States, this country would be in full-blown lockdown right now.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. It's the fact is, all we needed is just a couple states to just go, no.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that. And then the jig's up, right? Because everybody can look at those states and go, but yeah, like even when they're spiking, they're on similar trajectories as these other states. There's like not a big noticeable difference once you factor in population and you do things like, you know, case rates and death rates per 100,000. And if those states were to have caved or never gone the direction they did, I can guarantee you there wouldn't have been any other stronger governors, Republican or otherwise, that would have stood up and also said, no, we're not going to do that. And absent those states, California would be locked down, Wisconsin would be locked down, Illinois would be locked down, New York would be locked down. All these other states would have locked down. But they can't, because the American people know that Florida and Texas aren't.
Yeah.
And that it just took two states. Now, granted, we have 50 of them. Obviously, there's not that many states in Australia, so it's, you know, not apples to apples. But it took two states basically saying, no. No. Just flat out, no. We're not doing this anymore. And it blocked it. And if you think, and in the other states, all these municipalities and these people that are going to these school board meetings and saying no to the mask mandates for schools, if it weren't for those people pushing back, it wouldn't be kids being masked in school. You know what it would be? Remote learning.
Mm-hmm.
There wouldn't even be in-person voting. So the only reason we have what we have right now is because a few states, a few municipalities, a few people stood up and said,
with balls
no.
the size of grapefruits.
No. And yeah, they have been brutalized in the press for those decisions. Like, you would think if you paid attention to the press that like 90% of Florida has already died of COVID. Like, that's what you would believe if you weren't able to just look up the stats yourself. And it's so important to push back, because we would be Australia right now if we didn't have if we didn't have Florida and Texas. We would be exactly where Australia is, because you notice they keep moving the goddamn bar.
Yeah, they do. The goalposts.
Yeah, like 15 days to slow the spread, and and flatten the curve, and it'll be just a few weeks, and it'll be back to normal. And then it'll be back to normal once we get the vaccine. And now we got the vaccine, and now it's like, no, but you could infect kids and the unvaccinated, and it's like, well, the people who are unvaccinated,
immunocompromised.
Now it's the immunocompromised they're all whining about. It's like, well, why can't the immunocompromised either self-quarantine themselves or buy N95 masks that act as respirators that fit tight to your skin and filter out as well as in? Why can't somebody who's immunocompromised get an N95 mask or a full-blown respirator if that's what they want? But why does everybody else? Because it just keeps moving, and then it'll be the next variant, and it'll never end. Because you notice one thing they're never telling you in Australia or anywhere else is what the end game is. What's the metric for life back to normal? And you see in Australia, and this is really fucking weird, right? They're building this facility that's not even going to be open until mid to late next year to house quarantine people. And you got to think to yourself, now wait a minute, you're breaking ground on this facility now? It's not going to be open till mid to late 2022. So basically what you're saying is you're going to have a need to have quarantine jails, because that's essentially what these things function as, in operation in late, 1 year from now. It's never going to end. It's never going to end until people say no. And if you look on Twitter and everything, they want it. These people like it. They because they want to feel superior. It's part control freak, but then it's a superiority conflict. I care more than you because I'm for these things. I'm a better person than you. I'm not selfish like you because I'm willing to do this, that, and the other thing that the government says I should do.
That's in Melbourne.
Yeah. And we've seen through the course of this thing egregious police behavior all over the world.
Look at that. They don't care. And people, look at that. It's almost over. Oh, she was hot. But look, guys, here's the thing. And this is to no offense to Blake or anyone else in Australia, but this is what happens when you give up the only means you have, however meager, not to protect yourself from government. What?
I spotted Rhino. I was looking too, Liquid Blake. I was looking too. I was looking for the narrative's fucked green T-shirt in the crowd.
So we after we're done with the stream, we need to do.
So we need to like Photoshop
Waldo.
him in, and we could do like
Yes.
a Where's Waldo?
Where's
game.
Waldo? Yeah, where's Rhino? Someone will have that done by the end of the stream, I guarantee. But here's the thing: this is what happens when you give up the only means not to protect yourself, but to deter the government from doing this. Because, and Greg is correct. Like, police departments have been reprehensible. I don't know about other countries, but here, there's a certain type that I like to call it a template of a person that likes to join like the law enforcement, right? Because the difference between the military and law enforcement, military is out there to protect our country, right? From outward threats. In fact, there are laws that prevent them from acting within the borders of our own country, right? But police, law enforcement are there to police internally in the citizenry, right? So a certain type of person is like they gravitate toward that kind of work. And I'm not saying everyone is like this, but I'm just saying I think it's a trend because I know people anecdotally that do that. Like, why would you go do that on the weekends? Why would you moonlight in that unless you liked it? Unless you were trying to compensate for being bullied in high school, something like that. So the people, and hey, hats off to them in France. Some police joined the protesters, right? We know that happened. There's video footage of it. But how do you, like, what type of person does it take to enforce the law because it's the law, guys? That's what I'm saying. These people here are pissed because they're tired of it. And to Greg's point, I've been saying this since last summer, I think it was. It's not that, oh, you know, we have to do something to address the virus. It's what's the plan? It's they're constantly moving the goalpost. Oh, we're gonna, 1 month of lockdown and we're good. One case, we're locked down again and stuff like that. What is the plan? Who's coming up with the numbers that say this is the acceptable number of cases within a certain period of time? Stuff like that. No one's coming up with that because if they do that, if they define that, then they can't be held accountable and they can't perpetuate their control. And that's what this is all about. And in Australia, the government seems to be hell-bent on maintaining that control. And certain states here as well, like California.
California, New York City.
New York City's shit. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Cuomo, but I don't even want to. I mean,
there's that. It's not even worth talking about. Like,
no,
he's
it
gonna
isn't.
get away with essentially.
But it's a victory, right? It's a victory. Yay!
Yeah. No, maybe if he took his godforsaken shithead brother with him to jail, I would consider it a victory. But no, like in Australia, so New South Wales, the Prime Minister was Gladys the cunt. She came out, and I saw this in an article. She said something to the effect of like, even with 80% double vaccination,
yes,
and 0 cases, there would still be restrictions. Not the same restrictions, not full-blown lockdown. So she's coming out and saying, like, look, guys, if 80% of you get vaccinated, which is a higher number than it's a higher number than most nations have now anywhere in the world. We're certainly not near 80 in the United States. So she's saying, essentially, if we get to 80% and we have 0 active cases, she's probably going to leave into effect things like mask mandates and social distancing. It's never going to end. They're starting to understand a little bit that 0 cases is not possible anymore with this thing. I don't think it ever was, but 0 cases is just never going to be possible.
Are there 0 cases of the bubonic plague?
No.
Someone had it in Nevada a couple years ago.
No, and it's a respiratory virus with an animal reservoir. You can't vaccinate all the animals.
Right.
So like you're not going to vaccinate you're not going to vaccinate it out of existence. It is something that we are going to have to learn to live with and accept as like this is the status of things, much like seasonal flu, RSV, and pneumonia.
Careful! Don't compare the almighty C to pneumonia or the flu, because you know what that gets.
I'm not comparing their efficacy or risk factors. I'm just listing off seasonal, persistent viruses that don't go away.
Hey, what's that PM's name again?
Gladys something or other.
Okay, hang on.
They came bounding over.
Fuck off! Disney!
Gladys!
You fucking cunts!
But I mean, they're starting to give up the game, or drop hints. Like, right, they're building this facility that's going to be not even open until 2020, late 2022. Just saying things like, yeah, even with 80% vax rate and 0 active cases, they're not going to lift all the restrictions. You got to cross the water there, New Zealand, like 1 case locked on the whole country. Like. They're so stuck. I'm sorry, Premiere. Sorry. Yeah, like they're so stuck on defending the lockdown strategy that they won't move away from it at any cost or any reason or any science or anything. 1, they like the control, and 2, they just can't give the game up, because then it makes them look like oh, this can't be blamed on just one person, or like this, like, oh, we pursued bad strategy this whole time. So that like it's a control, it's necessary, it's control freaky, it's control freaks, and then it's people backed into this corner to forever push this strategy as almost like a defense. Like they're stubborn, they can't give it up. Because to give it up means that they were wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
Can't have that. Because then that kind of shatters the whole Orange Man caused all the bad.
Yeah, so there is the control factor, but I think from the cheerleading aspect, a lot of it, holy shit, a lot of it is also the fact that these are people that we talked about earlier, kind of in one of our tangents. They're the people that want to live, and this is just, hyperbole here. They want to live in their parents' basement, wearing pajamas all day long, playing games and stuff. And guess what? If you don't have to go to work because we're on lockdown, if you're getting the check from the government because we're on lockdown, then hey, why wouldn't I support it? And I've heard complete jackasses use this kind of logic that, hey, I'm only on Earth for what, 70, 80 years if I'm lucky, maybe less if I'm not lucky. So I'm just going to skate through and get away with as much as I can. So those,
life is short, so why work at all?
yes, yeah, exactly. So those are the types of people that are cheerleading this. I've heard people where I work in a very professional environment saying, "Oh man, that would be awesome if they locked down again, and then we could stay home or whatever." Yeah, I'd like to work from home, and technically we could. There's nothing making us, except for just someone making the decision you need to come in. Right. But I'm not wishing for a lockdown so that we can do that. Are you nuts? I mean, because I know there are other people out there that have jobs like as waiters, right? As cooks, as retail, and whatever else that need to work, that want to work, that don't want to live off of, and I don't want to say live off the government, because you're never living off the government. You know who you're living off of? Taxpayers, future generations that have to pay for it. That's who you're living off of. And then, you look at California currently in the middle of a recall effort. When's the election? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
I think it's next month, like in the middle of the month, because you have to do it within, it's like within 60 days, I think, of the recall, of the success of the recall. It has to be within, I think, like 60 days. I was right. Jock Nerdy says September 14th. So that's coming up because people are tired of it. Because there's a certain percentage of society that don't like being told what to do, that don't like being catered to, that don't like Big Brother, that don't like the nanny state, that don't like sucking on the teat of state control. And those are the people I have to rely on. Australia here, the people storming the police line, the people voting to recall Cuxum, people like that, those are they're still out there, but I think a lot of them are afraid to speak up, but they're out there, and it's coming to a head right now, guys. And I call this in 2005 that civil war is coming, because we're going to get to the point where it's so polarized, and we're already there. Look in LA, these clashes between opposing ideologies and stuff at protests. I'm gonna, we're gonna have a scheduled protest. 2 different groups show up and they start clashing. That's because it's bad. The polarization's bad. So you've got some people, members of the real rebellion, right? The real rebellion that are out there that really are against nanny state control, and then the people that want it, or at least the people that think that people that don't want it are the F word, that they're fascist or whatever. And it's not true.
Well, yeah, that's part of the whole organized thing, right? So the opposite side. So if you're anti-lockdown, or if you're anti-mandate, or of any kind, then you must be one of those Orange Man voters. And if you're an Orange Man voter, then you must be one of those people that did the January 6th thing, right? So like, it's very bad if you publicly come out holding that position, because then you get lumped in immediately with those 2 groups, and then you're guilty by their association. Even if you're a lifelong Democrat voter and you're going, yeah, these, like, the business I put my life into is going away, and I can't continue to run it like this. It's going to die. Something's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're just one of those people that be like, at some point, I want life to go back to normal. I understand the risks. I'm willing to take those risks. It's time to go back to normal. It's time to start living our lives. You talk about only having so much time on this planet. Like,
there you go.
really want to be locked down for any part of it? And as far as work goes, like not most jobs aren't fun, right? If we didn't have to have them, we probably would do something different. But they also provide meaning and purpose, and it's part of being human. It's healthy.
They also provide being. You know,
Yeah.
if you've ever read Jordan B. Peterson, it's a natural state of humanity to aim towards something, right? No matter what it is.
Right.
It's about the journey, because once you get there, then you aim towards something else. You know, people that say, well, you know, my YouTube channel, man, I would be so happy to have 1,000 subscribers and, you know, I'd be good. But once you get there, you want 5,000, right? You want to keep on going. That's like a natural inclination of humanity to want to drive towards something, to aim towards something, to have something that gives you being. And it's kind of like a Taoist concept, but it's very true that unless we're aiming towards something, we have no meaning in life. And when we don't, then we become nihilists. And then that's when we start supporting collectivism. Because what matters when you're in a collectivist society? Nothing matters.
Right.
I mean,
you get robbed of what makes you human. You just become
exactly.
You just become this
automaton.
Yeah, there's just no purpose. There's nothing that separates you from anybody else. You're just one of the many. Like, you as an individual just don't have any real meaning or worth. Yeah, you have no goals. You have nothing that you're aiming for. Yeah, it's a recipe for a lot of suicide and a lot of depression.
Yes, it is. I mean, look at Russia in the 1980s when they were at their peak, right? Their peak of when I say peak, I don't mean of success, just the peak Soviet era. It was a dystopian disaster.
It was a colorless, bland, brutalist. It was just this gray blob.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, there's a lot of people, I think, you know, going back to that communism thing, that you know, that under this world, it's like, yeah, then you know, oh, I'll still have goals. I'll make a YouTube channel, or I'll paint. And sell it to who?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter.
How will you know you're successful?
What are you going to talk about? How great the state is? I mean...
Right. Well, I mean, even if you had stuff to talk about on YouTube, or you were just making artsy-fartsy videos, like, but to who's going to watch them? Why are they going to watch them?
Mm-hmm.
What's, like, how do you measure success?
Right.
And then how does society function when you and everybody else are also doing that same thing? Like, again, like, it's just a recipe for just massive unhappiness and just fucking empty, meaningless, purposeless lives.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything just, like, more dehumanizing. Like, you know, give me liberty or give me death. Like, I would rather die than live in that world.
Yeah, state of New Hampshire, live free or die.
Yeah, I would rather die. And the reason we're here and this country is what it is because a lot of people had that same mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Give me liberty or give me death. Like, I will not live like this.
Mm-hmm.
I will fight. You know, you take it to Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could have just gone along to get along, done your meaningless drone job, or enlisted and become some, you know, faceless fucking, you know, stormtrooper. Doesn't sound like a very good life.
No, it doesn't.
It's just like, what they want is equal mass misery.
Yes.
It's so bizarre. Like,
Winston Churchill.
It is so fundamentally like wrong to me. Like it's very difficult to understand like why people would want that. And it's just
because they think it's fair. You know, they
think it's fair, and they think that they think that the reality, like this time, it'll be different.
Mm-hmm.
Like this time, it's gonna work. Like, you know, again, somebody's like, who's gonna? Yeah, it's gonna work because you still got your Uber drivers. Like, okay, you want to do lockdowns? Then let's do lockdowns. Everything closes. Everything. Yeah. No gas stations. No grocery stores. No Uber Eats. No restaurant pickups. You live in your house. No internet.
No postal service.
No postal service. Shut it all down. Like door to door, that's too risky.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in that house, like you could have like rubbed your snot on your finger and touched their mail, and somebody in that house could be immunocompromised.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't have mail service if to expect mail service. What are you, a murderer?
Yep.
It's not even like it. It's not even socialism. It's just flat out communism. Like it's the ultimate authoritarianism.
Absolutely.
But this
Blake,
idea, like everybody's got to sacrifice.
Blake, here's what I want to say. Like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of subscribers every month. It's a good number. Very happy with it. Rhino and I are like neck and neck every month. It's actually pretty funny. We're like within 5 of each other every month. But here's what I'm going to say. That, yeah, I'd love to keep on growing, but here's what I'm happy with. Like when I do live streams, you know, if we were on the other channel, we'd have 25 to 30 people, you know. I'm happy with those people showing up and stuff. You know, we don't have like dozens of weirdos, hundreds of weirdos showing up and stuff like that. I like this core group that's always here and they're contributing and stuff like that. So for me,
actually like truly engaged.
Yes. And that's the way I define success, then I'm extremely happy, you know. But yeah, let's keep on going, getting 30 to 60 new subs a month. It seems like when I put a video out, I get a surge and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm going to keep on going. But where I'm at right now is amazing because we get this core group of people showing up and they're engaged, truly engaged, like Greg said, and it's fun. So, F the Soviet Union.
I like talking politics, and I like talking, not just like political, like the gamesmanship of politics, but like the philosophy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I find it, like I'd much rather talk about this than, you know, fucking Marvel or fucking Lucasfilm is doing. It's okay to talk about those things too, but like to me, this is more fundamental. This is more core, way more important. But yeah, no, that's cool. It's never been done right before. Yeah, it's never been done right before. It's just not been funded enough, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Like public schools, like just they're not funded enough. They're just like we need to spend more money per student, and then education will be good.
Do it with a silver, like a pure silver fork instead of like aluminum or whatever it's made of, you know, stainless steel. Yeah, do it with actual silver. Maybe that'll make a difference.
Gold is great conductor.
Oh yeah, try it with gold. Yeah. But California, you know, again,
God,
this is a microcosm of what's going to happen if that kind of thing spreads. And you look at Billings, Montana, people are moving there from California and Washington. It's going to be a purple state, they say, by 2028. Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Texas. It's about to happen. Georgia's already in for. Florida will probably come next.
I think Florida's actually more safe right now.
Right now it
most
is.
Of them.
Right now it is.
Because they're getting a lot of good Cubans.
Yeah, that's true, because we know which way they're going to vote because they understand certain things.
Yeah, they've lived the other side.
But the point is, you look at that state, and honestly, I'm going to say this: I think COVID saved California, because 2018 there was all that talk of they're going to need a bailout as a state, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a state. Well, COVID hit, and it's like, oh man, a bunch of other states are looking terrible now, right?
Yeah.
Financially, economically. But look at all the policies that they institute there. All these wacky rules about hiring, just like in corporations, hiring so many minorities, like forcing those on the education system. Just look up what, we could go through a Newsom timeline and see all the wacky and insane shit he's come up with. Oh, not running waterways because you might endanger some useless fish that has absolutely no value on this earth, but let's not divert some aqueducts, rivers, whatever, to ensure that certain communities have water because of that piece of shit mud sucking fish. I mean, come on. If you want to look and see what would happen if you got 20 years of someone like Biden, look at the state of California, guys. It's an utter disaster. How much does a home cost in California? How much does gas cost in California? How many fires do they have in California, and that they blame on global warming, on climate change? A lot.
Yeah. California has, like, they got a windfall for a couple reasons. That, some federal bailout, obviously, but California certainly wasn't the only state, but they got a good chunk of it because of the size of their state, and basically Silicon Valley, right? Like, Coop has been very good for them.
Yes.
But in the long term, when you look at, like, the fiscal state of states like California, they're like one of the worst states in the country as far as liabilities, long-term liabilities go. And those aren't reflected in your year in, year out budget surpluses and debts, or shortfalls. Those are reflected in, like, this is how much of pension liability they have, versus their assets on the book. And that's a substantial and critical factor that's going to cripple them in the future, because they keep pushing that debt load off. So, like, the long-term fiscal viability of that state is seriously in doubt. And if the exodus continues, it's going to push those property values downward, and that's going to have a massive, it's going to be this downward fiscal effect, similar to kind of what happened 2008, 2009, right, with the mortgage crisis.
Yes.
It pretty much crippled that state, because then obviously you're not assessing near as much property tax, and things like that, because the values have dropped so dramatically. So, like, they may have, like, this really good, like, budget surplus this year or whatever, like, like $75 billion or some shit, but, like, long term they are still in very, very bad shape.
Yes.
They're gonna have to, like I don't know, like, looking at the state of the drought and things like that, I'd be like, it might be a good idea to, like, invest in some desalination plants. I don't know.
You mean, yeah, for ocean water?
Yeah, like, you guys, you gotta, like, have a freshwater crisis.
Yep.
And it, unless the drought lets up and you get, like, a really good couple years of rain, like, yikes. You look at the Colorado River and the reservoir at Hoover Dam. It's like, look at pictures of it.
Oh my gosh.
It's like gone. Like,
oh
what
my
was it, like, what?
This gas price, I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh yeah, it's creeped up here, in Wisconsin quite a bit.
Mine
Yeah,
is nowhere near that.
You literally had Biden begging OPEC to increase production.
Oh yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, I think Saudi Arabia said pound sand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was asking OPEC to increase their production.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, damn. We okay. And here's what you do. Like, if you're a responsible government and everything, like your economy has basically been shut down for a year, artificially, not due to some natural contraction or anything like that, but just literally, like, we're going to mandate that the economy gets turned off. Before you flip the switch to turn it on back on full bore, you might start making some strategic decisions during that downturn to, I don't know, increase the strategic national supply of petroleum so that the companies can still effectively drill profitably. Because what happened was gas got so fucking cheap that it became more expensive to extract it than it was that you could get for it. So,
right.
like,
yeah.
it was cheaper to leave it in the ground. Or in some cases, they were giving it away because it was cheaper to give it away than hold it.
Yeah.
What you do in those things is you store it. So when you turn the switch back on, you got that kind of reserve bit that, as the economy starts moving along, you don't have this sudden massive spike in demand, which of course creates a massive spike in price.
Yeah.
Like, and it was pretty predictable. Like, again, like, you can't just turn the economy back on and, like, suddenly all these industries just come roaring back instantaneously at full bore. What you can't do that while simultaneously extending unemployment benefits till September.
Yeah.
That's generally kind of not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, you're feeling it. Price of lumber, price of, like, and there's a housing
terrible.
There's a housing crisis out there, and the housing crisis is lack of inventory. It is inflating the fuck out of housing prices because it's too expensive to build a new house.
I'm in a bidding war right now.
You can't get the supplies to build a new house. They're too expensive.
And you know what's happening? Like, flippers are snatching up places, waiting just like a month as soon as they close and stuff, and then they're flipping that shit just in the span of 30 to 60 days. But yeah, I'm in a bidding war right now, and I'm gonna get out of it because I told my wife we need to shelter in place. But Boba Fett, it's nowhere near $3. Let me just put it that way.
Well,
so
and here's the thing: like, you own your house now, you're thinking, great, yes, this is so awesome. My net worth is going up because my house is suddenly so much more valuable. I can borrow more against it. I got all this thing. Like, this is so great. And yeah, you'll be able to sell it damn near instantaneously if you put it on the market, and for a very good price. Problem is then where do you go?
Yeah.
There's no other house to buy. You're playing musical chairs, and you just gave up the last seat to your friend, and now you're the jackass standing.
Yeah.
So, like, bit of good it does you if it doesn't give you mobility. It's an asset that is appreciating in value, but it's a ball and chain. You're tethered to it.
Yeah.
Because there's no fluidity. There's no movement.
Yep.
Because they won't. Well, in some states they won't let you build new subdivisions. California.
Yeah.
Or other states, like, now it's just fucking the supply is just the supplies to build are just so damn expensive that
it's unreal. That's something else I'm going to avoid doing for several years. I mean, if you want to make some money, what you could do right now is sell your house and then rent from someone for a few years. And then once prices go back down, you could take all that money you made off the house you sold, and you could take that money and you could put it in some kind of fund that's just sitting there as you rent, and then buy a badass house maybe 4 or 5 years from now. But who wants to rent for that long, you know?
And then, and if you're already in an existing house, then you're also like considerably downsizing your living space for quite some time. Because
Well,
chances
you
are
could rent a house, you know.
Yeah, if there's a good one available.
Because when we first got married, we didn't know what we wanted, so we rented this place for 3.5 years. Really nice house, but it was in a neighborhood, and I don't like living in neighborhoods. Just don't like people. So,
yeah, neighborhoods have lawnmowers in them. Can't have that.
Oh, and did you see that lawnmower today? It's the perfect design. It's a bicycle that is attached to like the blades, like a barrel shaped blade.
One of the old timey, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bicycle, so it doesn't make any sound. It's like I feel like buying one of those and giving it to my neighbors. Like they can all just share the same one, you know? Just like lock it up to someone's mailbox and everyone has a key when you need to mow your lawn. Just get on it. But you know what's funny? I haven't heard anything this week. I think we haven't had a lot of rain. Well, it rained today, but I think summer is starting to wind down and grass is just not growing as much, because I haven't heard one this week at all from, well, I've been at work, you know, several days, but usually I hear some at night. Nothing. So I'm happy.
Nice. We just had them come through. They skipped a week, and the grass was kind of out of control. But they finally mowed the other day.
Well, I called my guy because they haven't come.
Because it was just like too much.
My guy hasn't come in 3 weeks because they've only done it once, and I'm like, I called him Monday, and I'm like, you guys didn't show up. Oh, does it need it? And I'm like, well, not really, but the fact is, you guys never even called me saying, hey, it doesn't need it, so we're not coming. So I didn't know if you even thought this was a one-time gig or not. Oh yeah, it's not. We'll be there. We'll get it this week. Well, it's Saturday morning at 1:00, and they haven't shown up this week. So if he doesn't show up Monday, he's fired, and I'll find someone else. Yeah, and equally, there's a whole movement out there that landlords are tyrants and all kinds of insane stuff, because making you pay rent on something they own, they think it's oppressive. It's insane.
And it's so weird because they have this idea of like landlords and these property owners being like Scrooge McDuck. They live somewhere else outside of the city. They got this huge gold bin that they go swimming in. They don't really need the money or anything. It's like, you know, the bulk of landlords, at least in my city, are not these huge. I mean, there are some huge like apartment complexes and developments, but the majority is like duplexes and homes and like fourplexes and things like that scattered all over the city. And those people aren't rich, and they've invested in those properties, but they have mortgages on them.
Right.
And if they're not collecting rent, then they're not able to pay their mortgage. And you know, that was income that they were counting on. Because this whole time, I guarantee you that if you weren't paying rent, and I don't understand why you couldn't, because they've offered unemployment this whole fucking time, you know, at a much higher rate than normal, even like to the tune of like a couple $100 extra a week in unemployment. Like, I don't understand, even if you weren't working due to the pandemic, like how you weren't able to pay the rent when you were like suddenly getting more money in unemployment than you were from employment. But anyway, like these these landlords are not super rich people. some of these people they're going to lose their buildings. They're going to lose their properties.
Yeah, they are.
And they were counting on that income to live on. And I don't get why you think, or anybody thinks, that like you're entitled to their property, use of their property. And like, surely while you were not paying rent this whole time, if the furnace went out, I guarantee you would have demanded that they fixed it, right?
Yep.
And if they didn't, you would have probably filed a complaint with the state or the city.
Mm-hmm.
My landlord isn't holding up his end of the obligations. The furnace is broken and he hasn't fixed it, or the air conditioner, or the hot water heater, or whatever, the refrigerator. If I was a landlord, I'd be like, I'm not paying rent. I ain't fixing shit.
Yeah. And we kind of covered this earlier, Blue-Eyed Scorpio, that's exactly their plan. Destroy the middle class. And then...
Yeah, and there's a lot of middle class landlords out there. I have family members that own a couple buildings. You know, not many mega complexes. They're not millionaires. And fortunately, their tenants have been paying throughout the whole thing. Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you're a decent human being. Like if you're still working, or if you're collecting unemployment, like, why weren't you paying rent?
Right.
Oh, because nobody forced you and they couldn't kick your ass out? Well, I am like, when you are sleeping in the street, I am going to come by and piss on your face.
And kick you, yeah. Curb stomp. But yeah,
like,
guys.
Oh, this cardboard box is your house? I think I'm going to take a shit in it.
California is a microcosm of what would happen if collectivism were to take hold nationwide. It's a disaster in the making. So just look to that state as an example of what not to do.
It's even worse, though. It's like, it's a propped up example. Because you take Silicon Valley out of that picture, and if this were to happen nationwide, then you can pretty much kill Silicon Valley, because they would cannibalize it, make free Wi-Fi available everywhere, because that's a human right now, right? These companies would go away very fast, and they wouldn't be worth nearly what they're worth, or be able to do nearly what they're doing. So you take that out of the equation, what's California got left?
Right. Nothing.
I mean, like, that's the crutch that they're leaning on, but like, you take that crutch away, holy shit, they are in the toilet, like, even worse. They're lucky that the weather's good there.
Well, you know,
really there's no reason to locate a business in California. None.
But just think about Florida.
In a container shipping business.
Think about Florida. California could be like Florida without the hurricanes, right? Think of the tourism industry. Think of the oil. Think of all that shit and how prosperous it could be. And the only thing stopping it are the right policies. That's it. They have the workforce. They have it all. You could just go down the whole checklist. But because of decades, 100 years of bad policies, this is where it's led us. Again, I follow my hometown's, this one news site's Facebook page, and it's a fucking clown show. Like last weekend, 3 people murdered, one of them a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a dystopia. But yeah, we need to start wrapping it up here. We've been going 3 hours and 40 minutes. We've had a very consistent crowd. We've had 22 likes. So for sure, hit the like if you're here and you haven't done so yet. 23 likes now.
24 on my screen.
Oh, awesome. I'm looking at the live control room. And guys, share the link out to the channel itself. I want to try and get it up to 100, 200 subscribers so that when I do use it, you know, people know that we're streaming and stuff. Because as much as you try to push stuff out on social media, the best way of of getting someone to watch is when they get that notification when you go live, because you forget. I forget. So and so is going live, and then they're live. You know, I'm driving. I'm going to click on it and listen to them. Tap on it, whatever. Listen to them as I drive. 25 likes, awesome. But yeah, great conversation as always. We haven't done one of these since February. So next time we're back with this, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to break down that article on how left-wing governments can't be authoritarian, which I thought was I thought it was a parody article, but this weird son of a bitch was being 100% serious, unironic. So we need to go through that, and then I want to go through something else. Hey Samuel, it's all right. You can always watch the replay. It's not unlisted.
True.
I want to do this. I want to do an exercise. It's not going to take long next time. I want to do come up with people or situations, and then we identify them as enemies or inferiors. With enemies, basically overriding the inferior, right? So that's all. It'll be a fun exercise. So we're going to do that, and whatever else comes up in the news. But we've talked about Afghanistan. We've talked about the 0.000 astronomical rating that we've given the Biden presidency. We've talked about California and how it's a great example of why not to institute a lot of these policies that lead to collectivism and destruction of society, to put it in so many words. And we've also talked about cheerleading for tyranny. Like, why do people support and promote stuff like lockdowns? And we covered all that. So it's been a good conversation. Thanks for being here, Greg.
Happy to be here. Love to talk politics and shit.
Yeah. And hey, if there's anything you guys want to hear next time, maybe we'll do like a Q&A session. Maybe we'll cut back on the topics and save time for something like that. And, you know, I've had people say, like, I'm not really into politics, going to listen anyway. Well, maybe you can learn something, or you can even ask something. Just don't be intimidated by anything, because we're here to help. Let me just put it that way.
Well, and if you listen to our streams, it's not so much like ours are good, D's are bad.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
You know, and not so much.
He means Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, like, you know, and yeah, or so much of how can I put it? Just can't think of how to describe it, but you know what I mean. Just basically,
yes,
yeah. It's not just this tribalist. Everything my side does is great, and everything their side does is wrong or is the devil or something like that. We get more into the specifics and the philosophies.
We did it tonight with this Biden timeline.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, thanks.
Yeah, there's a reason why I vote the way I do. It's not
right
because I was like raised that way necessarily. There's reasons.
Lesser of two evils. That's why I vote the way I do. Yeah. But yeah, guys, they're all bad. They're all bad. Thanks for being here, guys. I guess, and honestly, Greg, I was going to tell you this. I'll just tell you on stream. I feel like we should take Sunday night off, because we're going to be doing tomorrow night, which I haven't even set up yet. Holy shit. And then I'm going to be doing
tomorrow night.
A member stream Monday night. And I got some other stuff going on probably on Monday, even though it's a day off during the day. So yeah, we're going to take off from Trek, guys, is what we're telling you. And then we'll be back the following Sunday, and we'll finish our hot women list, or at least work on it. I thought that was really popular and fun. So I want to continue that.
Gone through TNG, DS9, Voyager,
right,
Enterprise, other than, of course, my goddess T'Pol.
Yep. Especially with the longer hair, for sure. But anyways, yeah, so we'll see you guys. I got to set this thing up. Probably not tonight, because I'm really tired. When I first wake up, I'll set up Fall of Night, me, Greg, Raging Rhino, who's on lockdown, so we know he can show up. and OG Star Wars. So definitely be there for that. But yeah, thanks to Melissa Lord for the donation. Highly appreciate it. It helps a lot. My next goal is to try and save up enough for one of those Secret Labs XXL chairs for my huge stature, because this chair isn't too bad, but it's old. Got it from work. I want one of those comfy chairs so I can sit here for a really long time. But yeah, thanks to Blake for modding. What were you going to say?
Before we go, one more quick reminder. Lady Turiels has the GoFundMe. If you have not contributed and can do so, please do.
Yes.
Blake, I think you have the link if you could drop it in there. And, if you can't, OG Star Wars has got a thread on Twitter. I think where she launched it. You can retweet that to your followers or make your own tweet. Share that link out there. Maybe get some extra eyes on it. And, if you can't help financially, maybe try and help her that way.
Share it. Yeah.
Yeah,
guys.
She's a valuable member of the community. Active and an active participant. So.
Yeah, guys, she's a member of so many channels and stuff. There's no telling how much money she has tied up in that, so we can give back. And thanks to some people who did huge donations on that. Thanks, guys. And she swung by earlier. But yeah, we're out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one.
Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
Where do you get this bureaucratic bull?
You have all the character references of a politician.
Intelligence has nothing to do with politics.
This president is not above the law.
If the dirty air don't get you, the politicians will.
The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away.
These orders have forced us to declare independence.